I welcome you, the participants, and also our distinguished speakers, and we will start the event now. This event is special collaborations between ASEAN Secretariat, Universiti Petra Malaysia, National Institute of Information and Communications Technology, or NICT, Japan-ASEAN Science, Technology, and Innovations Platform, and Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovations Malaysia in conjunction with ASEAN COSTI-80. Before we start the webinar and invite all the distinguished speakers and panelists, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Fitriat Fiana Nuritasari. I am working for UNESCO office in Jakarta under Science, Policy, and Capacity Building sector. And today I will be your MC and also moderator for the panel sessions. Without further ado, to officially open this special event, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Muhammad Azir Mahdi, the Director of Research Management Center at Universiti Petra Malaysia, to give the opening remarks and also to officially open today's event. Professor Muhammad Azir Mahdi, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Fitri. I would like also to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to officiate this eventful meeting for all attendees and also for all speakers. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to the Secretariat and attendees of this event. So the title of this event is actually STI Cross Livelihood Across Women for the Sustainable Use of Peatland and Mangrove, Female Empowerment in Research and Practice through ASEAN-Japan Collaboration. So this event is co-organized by various important parties like Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation Malaysia, MOSTI, Japan-ASEAN Science, Technology and Innovation Platform, JASTIP, National Institute of Information and Communications Technology, and I saw this UNESCO Jakarta office. So this webinar is very important to actually to strengthen the collaboration between ASEAN partners, and UPM, Universiti Petra Malaysia, is very honored, okay, to co-organize this webinar through our what we call hardcore researcher, Professor Dr. Adwati Salih. And this webinar is actually meant to highlight the STI, livelihood, and also women for sustainable use of peatland and mangrove in this beloved region. And for this webinar, so we have two key note speakers, and also we have several special talks, I think 7 of them. And for keynote speakers, we will have the Honorable Dr. Luli Miling from Sarawak Tropical Peat Research Institute, Malaysia, and also Dr. Hiroshi Imoto Sensei from NICT, Japan. And for your information, in 2018, UPM with our collaborators from MIMOS, IPB and BPPT Indonesia, UTB Brunei, and also NICT Japan, this group has secured an international grant entitled NAPC, Networked ASEAN Peatland Communities, funded by ASEAN EVO initiative. And in 2020, UPM again, okay, with our collaborators from Asia and EU, secured another international grant entitled Sustainable Aquatic Research Management in Mangrove Ecosystem via Internet of Things application. So again, funded by another funding body, Asia Connect 10. And both projects are actually led by our famous UPM female researchers, Professor Adu. And the project have been actually showcased and have been actually getting good attention from various social medias. And I hope that this collaboration will actually to highlight or to showcase the women empowerment in STI agenda. And I hope with this initiative, the collaboration between ASEAN partners. So for this webinar, so the ASEAN partners are Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. And hopefully in the coming years, hopefully the team can expand to invite other ASEAN partners like Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, and so on. So because this is a very good platform to actually stimulate, okay, the research and innovation activities, so that we can actually try to elevate the status of Asian countries to be relevant in the world map, especially for research and development. And with the support from NICT and also JASTIP, so we appreciate the support from Japanese counterparts, because they are actually the we look them as our we call as our advanced partners in various research and development topics. And Japanese researchers are most welcome to help the team just to achieve the objective of the project. So I don't want to take a longer time. I believe that this webinar is, very meaningful to all attendants and also to all speakers. And without any further ado, so I would like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a fruitful webinar, which is also in conjunction with ASEAN COSTI meeting hosted by MOSTI Malaysia. With that, I hope you will enjoy this webinar, and thank you so much for your invitation to UPM. Especially, I'm just representing UPM as a co-organizer for this webinar. Thank you so much, and enjoy your webinar.
Thank you, Professor, for the opening remarks and also the overview of today's event. And next, for the main event, I would like to invite the first keynote speaker, Dr. Hiroshi Emoto, the Director of International Research Development Office, Global Alliance Department, National Institute of Information and Communications Technology, or NICT. And this short biography of him is in 1998. Dr. Emoto joined the Communications Research Laboratory, which is currently known as the NICT. He is working for International Affairs from 2008 and ASEAN IVO Secretary from 2015. And Dr. Emoto will present his lecture on ASEAN IVO to solve common social challenges. Dr. Emoto, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I'm Hiroshi Emoto. I will make the first talk to solve the common social challenge in ASEAN region. So, sorry, I will change the different file. Yes, I think I don't need to explain everything about the ICT. I think everyone knows the technologies. And as today this meeting, everyone from somewhere join this meeting seminar. So, if, as you know, on the other hand, and we also have the global issue we need to tackle today. So, global issue is a keyword, and I think everyone knows recently the global warming and the population explosion and the natural disaster and so on. But we need to think deeply. That means so we need to make or work together as a global alliance to tackle these global issues. So and that's why we established the ASEAN IWO. So the ASEAN IWO is established from today 6 years ago. So the goal is very simple. The mission of the IWO is to seek and identify the strategic ICT research areas and in ASEAN and promote the collaborative project. So to promote the activities of ASEAN IWO, the one steering committee, it is operated and represented by representatives from 10 ASEAN countries and Japan. This is the members of the steering committee. So they came from the 10 countries of ASEAN region and Japan. So now we have the 69 members until the last month. So this is the slide that shows the activities of ASEAN IWO. So mainly we have the two categories in every year. One is the we organize the one forum, and the other is we establish the collaborative projects every year. So to against the COVID-19, and last year and this year we organized or now we are organizing the ASEAN Forum online. So what is the ASEAN Forum? So this forum is to promote the ICT and the provide a place for all ASEAN IWO members to exchange the ideas, discuss the topics, and coordinate the projects. This is important. This is forum working for. So, of course, any and all members of ASEAN will can apply for this forum. I would like to mention about this one, and for this year, the forum 2021. Now we are in the process of for core presentations. The deadline is tomorrow, but maybe we need to consider to extend the deadline 1 week. So the another about the ASEAN IWO project. So the project is we call for proposal from core research, of course, the pure research, to real-world application. So our project focus on a very, very broad range of topics in the field of ICT, particularly with regards to the providing the solution for the specific regional needs and environment or social problem, where the emphasis is placed on the not just fundamental research, but practical solutions. The secretary now is working for the preparation for the call for proposal 2022. So the website will be open soon. I think the topics will be the 5 topics as this slide shows. So next part, I would like to introduce the female researchers in activities in ASEAN IWO. This is slide shows the projects they led by the female researchers from the first year of the ASEAN IWO established 2016 and to this year we had had 8 projects. They are led by female researchers. About the red color, this line, I think Dr. Adwati Sally will give us more detailed explanation in the next session. So I will try to introduce each project and their activities briefly. For example, this project is the mobile ICT is led by Dr. Sun Mei. She is working at the I2R of Singapore. This project members came from the NICT and Vietnam and Malaysia. So this project very interesting to develop with sensor node here. Sensor, oh, I'm sorry. Sensor node and the mobile gateway for the data sharing between the big city. And so they also developed a test bed for the experiments. Next one is a project which is developed which is led by Dr. Jennifer and Mapo University of the Philippines. This project focuses how to control the water for the farming, and the project team combined from Philippines, Malaysia, and Myanmar, and Japan. So this shows the activities of this project. They are also developed the application for the smartphone to monitoring and control the water irrigation. The next one is project and led by Dr. Kurita, and he is working for Chulalongkorn University of Thailand. And this team members came from Thailand and Malaysia and NICT. So this project is try to create a data distribution platform on wireless mesh network using the NAVNet to overcome the limitation traditional wireless communication. That means the two kinds of the wireless communication system were combined into one application system to overcome the limitations. So, for example, this is an experiment in Chulalongkorn University, and the shuttle bus of the campus was the target of the project and for an experiment. So next one is and the next one is IoT-based application system development and led by Dr. Tu. She is working for the Hanoi University of Science and Technology. So this system is performing very high performance of greenhouse for farming, and to help the farmers to get high performance gain of the greenhouse. The next one is a project of IoT-based application development too. It's led by Professor Vedad Ismail. He's working for Universiti of Science in Malaysia, and the members came from Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and so on. So this system is to analyze, try to design and analyze and monitor the portable aquaculture quality. Quality monitoring is very interesting. I'll show you next one. So they developed one system and instrued, instrued to Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand for the fish, lobster, and crab. So this system also can be monitored by the smartphone applications. The next one is a project to focus on the feed swap. So it's led by the Dr. Adwa Patisari, and the members came from the Malaysia and the Brunei and the Indonesia and Japan. So I think I don't need to explain anymore. And Dr. Adu will give us more detail and explanation in the next session. I just show you the slide. This system also show institute two and here Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. Next one is also focused on the agriculture. So it's led by Dr. Chong, and he's working for USM in Malaysia. So the members came from the Malaysia and Indonesia and also Myanmar to help the farmers. And this system also is IoT-based application system. So it's this team tried to include this system to each farmers, and I think we need to. I think I need to say. So this system just finished the field trial last year, so in the pandemic situation of COVID-19. So the interesting and the conduct is he organized the practical workshop for each experimental site of Indonesia, Myanmar, and Malaysia through the internet. To against the COVID-19. The last one is a new project just established this year. This year, this project members came from Malaysia and Brunei and NICT. Now, Dr. Chia Peng Leo is working for USM, Universiti Science Technology, Malaysia. So the interesting thing is the leader of the Dr. Chia Peng Chong. He is working for the chemical engineering. He's not a specialist of ICT, but he collected project members from ICT field and formed this team for conducting the water reuse. This is a very important issue in ASEAN region, I think. So I hope this project will going well. It's just established from this year. So anyway, and ASEAN has this 33 projects from the 2016 to this year. There are 8 leaders who are female researchers, and they came from 5 countries in the ASEAN region. The R&D areas is a wide range, such as smart city and community, agriculture, aquaculture, and environment protection, and so on. It means there is no gender issue in the ICT field, R&D field. But generally, such the Peatland issues definitely requires the hard physical work in the field research that may be sometimes disadvantages for females, but research by ICT are equally conducted by all genders, regardless physical difference. I think this is important for us, for every participant and speaker. The last one, I try to give you some the outcome of the project, NAPC network, Swamp community. So this project just finished last year, and they not only did the R&D, but also have done every social activities. For example, release to the news media and get the paperwork, best paper award, and from the academic, and also exhibit the system in the expo. And the last one, this project leader now is the regional finalist for ASEAN US Prize 2021 for women. Thank you very much. This is my talk, and I would like to show you one last one. So you can find the information from the ASEAN for ASEAN IVO from the website, and we all published and open all the information on the website. If you are interested, please check the homepage and website. Thank you very much. That's all from me.
Thank you, Emoto Sensei, for the lecture. I hope all participants see and understand the potentials of ASEAN AVO for further solve the social challenges commonly found around us. And now, for the second speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Luli Meling, the Director of Sarawak Tropical Peat Research Institute, Malaysia. Dr. Meling is an adventurous and determined lady who dares to explore the uncharted field of research on tropical peat. She is the founder and had established the Sarawak Tropical Peat Research Institute, and she is also recognized locally and internationally as an expert on tropical peat. Please welcome Dr. Luli Meling.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Ibu Fitri, and thank you very much to the organizer for giving me this opportunity to do this presentation with a topic, Women in the Tropical Peatland Research. So this topic is quite a big topic, but I will try and share the experience of myself and my group on tropical peatland research. So can we have the share screen now? Okay, so I will try and run through and see how I can introduce this topic to everybody. And I'd like to say thank you to all my peat fan supporters for your attendance this morning. Now, everybody is always curious on why I get involved into this sort of research. But actually, my ambition all my life, ever since I was 12 years old, was to be one of the best mother in the world. And that is driven by my special force called motivation. Because I have this idea that, which I read through, that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, and which a lot of ladies sometimes are not fully aware. So here, why I got into it was, what is the future of our children? Do these children knows what is climate change and what is the gender issues that is ongoing? And when we see all this, we look at how the women, the mothers' unconditional love for their children. So our children holds the important key to our nation's future. But what is our role today in securing a future for these children? So the unconditional love of these children, you never see pictures of that many about men giving, taking care of children in this manner. So these are the women. They will always look into the education, the food, the shelter, the health, the safety, the moral values, and also the discipline on how the children should grow up. And these are our rural women. They play a key role in supporting their household and communities in achieving the food, generating income, improving rural livelihood, and overall well-being. So it's very important that these women be empowered so that there will be an important, and it will be an important strategy to eradicate hunger, food security, and malnutrition. So again, if you look at this, what are their future? How are we going to look into the development aspect? Because this utilization of the peatland is very important to make sure that they can function and create values for this future generation. Now, tropical peatland research. It is in the global agenda, which is a Western agenda. They are always talking about the climate change and gender issue. But I think it's more important because of our condition that we have to look into the people, the social and environment, whereby the local ecosystem is not to benefit the rich Western countries when they are the ones that have been exploiting the resources through the history. Here we look into how to ensure the sustainability of the peatland ecosystem to benefit the local people. Now, it is very important that we know how to eradicate poverty and to increase the income of the people via the balanced approach. Because initially, I worked in the agriculture department, and when I travel into the rural areas, I found out people telling me, well, that whatever projects that the department or agriculture asked them to do, they will ask, why are they still poor? So it is about how you want to do the agriculture development, because it is still an important engine for rural economic growth and plays a very important strategic role in economic development and poverty reduction, primary source of income and employment, and improving food security and nutrition. Thus, the importance of tropical peatland research. Now, education is an indicator on the status of women and more importantly on an agent for the empowerment of women, because when you are not educated, you are actually blind to a lot of things, so you just imagine, close your eyes and not knowing what is around you. Education enables the women to respond to challenges and confront their traditional role and improve their lives. Now, with better education, you can have more women to do the science and have an opportunity to do tropical peatland research. As what has always been said around us by especially like Brigham Young, he said, you educate a man, you only educate a man. But if you educate a woman, you educate a generation. So it is very important to expand women's educational opportunities for an effective way to promote economic growth in developing countries. Now, the number of the percentage of the female researchers are not as interesting as how it is compared to other fields of subject, because it is considered something that is not that suitable for the women. But as of now, it is increasing. Now, tropical peatland is our wealth. It is a very important economic resource, especially for Malaysia and Indonesia, because it generates the wealth. But there are environmental and sustainability issues that are related to it, which has been being propagated. That is the climate change, peat fire, subsidence, flooding, water quality degradation, and biodiversity loss. So what is so interesting about this tropical peatland is that it has been creating different level of interest among different group of people. For example, geologists will look at the geological aspect, hydrologists look at the water, agriculturists look at it differently. Now, it was once a no man's land and being considered a wasteland because of the wetness. And man has been exploiting tropical peatland as a hunting ground and for timber extraction. So it was not that feasible in the old days before the availability of science and technology to develop the peatland. And at that time, it was considered a problematic soil due to its high water table, low bulk density, high acidity, and low fertility. Now, in terms of soil science, it is a field, it's a new field by itself. As you can see, in the soil group is there's only one soil group, but when there are actually 3 different types of peat. And a lot of accusation on the tropical areas were based on the temperate studies, when it's actually a difference of how we compare what is European and what is Asian. Now, being the best exploited land resource, it is also the least researched and understood soil type among the soil groups. Now, as compared to temperate and boreal peat, tropical peatland research is a new research frontier. So because of that, due to its limited amount of study, tropical peatland was suffering from a Cinderella syndrome, and unknown and unloved. In bahasa is like tidak kenal, tak upaya untuk dicinta. Oh yeah. So here we introduce, we pioneered to show that there are different types of peat. There's not one type of peat. So there's the virgin peat, whereby it's less decomposed, and you can see the water shooting out through the profile. Whereas the non-virgin peat, it is more humidified. But there are also two, for the virgin peat, there are also 2 types of virgin peat, that is mature virgin and immature, because of the content of woodiness and the penetration when you do the peat augering. So this is the beauty of the tropical peat swamp forest, which we are involved to do the baseline study, because this will help us at the same time to understand how to do better conservation work, and also to do management of the developed peat. And the challenges on tropical peatland now is the fact is about the conversion of the tropical peat swamp forest to plantation, and how it's being managed. Managed peatland is always being compacted with water management. Unmanaged is abandoned, not taken care in terms of water management, and that is the one that always have the issue of peatland fire. Now, the challenges in tropical peatland research, why the study was not done earlier on, is because of the soft soil and the wet condition. And this is the thing that most of the men are not willing to get wet the whole day. And on top of that, because the peat is acidic, they will be very itchy all the way, the whole day. And they have to go through the water to the study site, and in the open area, you know, it's very, very hot on top of the humidity. So if the men are having problem, what about the women, you know? So combining an enriched career and a loving family relationship is a goal of many people. But for the women, this goal still presents higher hurdles, even in the most gender equal countries in the world. Now, regardless of our background and culture, issues concerning women in the workplace are common. Now, fieldwork in tropical peatland is demanding and challenging, both physically and mentally. But fieldwork is the inescapable. You cannot escape it from tropical, when you're doing tropical peat research. So we all know that fieldwork has all the challenges and the dangers. But for the women, you have additional challenges that their gender introduce, such as your feminine hygiene, and when you have your period or your menstruation, and the men ask you, how did you dress and undress in the bush with all the men around you? And also, you also experience the pressure to adhere to certain gender roles during field work. You know, they expect you to be the person that cook, you know, but normally I will negotiate the men. I'll do the cooking, they will do the washing. So it's not a problem. Now, the risk of facing harassment and toxic power dynamics with men, both in the field and in academia, dealing with the politics of peatland science, challenges with childcare and safety while conducting field-based research, and the major challenges is to be at the decision-making tables. To be present in one is step one, but to be heard and respected would be the second. So sometimes it is very disheartening that when you try and tell the truth, you get disqualified because they do not want to hear the science, but the men prefer to hear stories, you know, because science, you cannot season it, but stories, you can season it with pepper or with salt or even with sugar. Now, to pioneer in tropical peatland research. Initially, when I first started as a soil surveyor, I was extremely nervous, and some of the fieldwork I found difficult physically and mentally. Now, in the early years, women's role in soil survey appeared to have been limited to clerical work, copy editing of manuscript, cartographic drafting of maps, and the women, if they have better education, may be able to work in a laboratory. But in the soil survey, I remembered that even before I reported for duty, I was announced as not qualified for my job. And they remain very resistant to women in the field parties because they have discomfort to have women with all the male crew, and when you have to lead the team, which are all men. And when you are able to prove your survival in doing the soil survey, you get yourself sabotage. And sabotage can be in the form of budget, logistic, equipment, manpower, harassment, and even character assassination. So you can just imagine having to do this field work in such a harsh environment. You still need to survive. So at the time, I felt I could not express this for fear of being perceived as weak or a typical girl, that people would question your suitability in the role. So sometimes when you try to tell, it end up you waste your saliva, and that's when you have to find ways to survive. And through the difficulties of fieldwork and being woman working in one of the most challenging environment out there, the swamp has always taught us lessons about our own resilience. Before I had my PhD, I have had difficulties that when you attend meeting, your work will not be seriously considered. Your recommendations and your findings will not be taken serious. You know, they can easily disqualify your work, and you get scolded by the older ones, you know, who think that you are just sending the wrong message, you know, and they still have this norm that when you attend meetings or when you're in the field, you need to talk to them like Barbie dolls, you know. Yeah, so as long as we are confident in our methods, we should not be intimidated by those who disagree with us. So the fieldwork and its emotional and physical challenges help to build our self-confidence and resilience, shaping who we are today, or I am today, and create the pathway to the younger female researchers. Now, this is actually what we have done, the studies whereby we have to cut through 20 kilometers of rentis to see the real profile. And actually, we pioneered this work in the world. And at the same time, when we managed to identify the different type of peat, we were able to salvage the oil palm industry in Southeast Asia. Now, the foundation of the tropical peatland research is, of course, my family. Without them, I will not be able to move, especially my husband and my son, and my professor, Hatano Sensei. And this is a picture of my son when he was only 10 years old. And this research work was a foundation to how it is for the better understanding and also of peatland, and also to establish the Tropical Peat Research Institute, while at the same time to salvage the oil palm industry in Southeast Asia. And it is very important to do the communication of science to society. And that is very challenging because we, being in the government service, it's not easy to raise the fund to do the work. So we had to go through the Malaysian Peat Society and to organize and share quickly the information that we have generated to make sure that it can be communicated to the people on the ground who need to implement. And we had also, this is the success story of, we have been able to successfully establish the Peat Research Institute. We established 3 AD covariance tower, and also we have the organization that is to support the research, and it is still growing. And in order to make sure that we were not disqualified professionally by some Western NGOs, we were able to bid for the International Peat Congress and invite the whole world to come to Kuching, whereby we had hosted to make sure that we share what was reality and what was not reality that has been speculated. And it became the best and the biggest peat congress since 1954. And actually, we were also the first female Congress General. So this shows that if we really want to do it, we can do. So for the field and advisory work, yes, we have to go down to share the information to guide people how to do the development via the better understanding of the field work, and also the better understanding of what is peat soil. And these are some of the tropical peatland research activities, whereby we do the soil survey and the peat depth checking, greenhouse gas measurement, litter decomposition study, biomass study, and also the AD covariance study. And we introduced on the agro-environmental management of the tropical peatland to Southeast Asia, whereby we use the pitch word to the farmers, keep it tight and moist, whereby it's like comparing how Bika Ambon, kek Bika Ambon, ataupun kek sarang, going through the drainage, mechanical compaction, and water management practices, you convert it into either American cheesecake or chocolate cheesecake. Keeping the peat tight and moist ensures good oil palm growth and yield, and that is what the farmers and the industries are needing, and that will be what they will listen more to. But environmentally, we are able to decrease the CO2 emission and prevent peat fire. And with all those science that we have generated, and now the industry is like a young boy running very fast. And actually in the audience, I want to say thank you to Tan Sri Peter Chin, who has supported our research work. And as of today, Tan Sri, we Sarawak have been able to generate an export value of about 20 billion this year, after the 10 years journey that we started together in 2010. Thank you very much, Tan Sri. And the female role model. Now, sometimes we forgot that it is very important as what it is in the scientific world, as it is in a family. In the family, our parents are our role model. Our mothers are our role model to make us who we are today. And the same thing goes for research. We need a role model, especially in tropical peatland research. Now, it is very effective in ensuring the continuation of women in tropical peatland research, because the female role models for tropical peatland research has been proven in Sarawak Tropical Peat Research Institute. It breaks down the gender stereotypes about women participating in field research in remote environment. Fieldwork empowers and enables us to explore and discover our resilience, and also is an invaluable aspect of building this resilience as a strong support of the team, and the ability to balance motherhood with a successful career. And having the role model demonstrates that women can have a voice in wider debates about sustainability and responsible environmental management for our future generation. And it's very important to have teamwork and mentoring, and we have been able to successfully do it, whereby the role of female senior researchers are to mentor and support the young female researchers, to inspire other female researchers in tropical peatland research exploration. And it is very important to have the mentoring, peer support, and teamwork. And the cultural perspective change that supports women in tropical peatland research is actually very much required. And working with female colleagues or with men who take substantial responsibility for childcare is also helpful in terms of having a supportive environment. Now, this has been the inspired young female researchers in tropical peatland research. Look at the environment that they have to go through. And yet, when it comes to the meeting rooms, these are forgotten by the senior management who are mostly men. For some of the men further along in their careers, and for some of the women, they feel that they have a responsibility to address these concerns and show their apprentices that obtaining a work-life balance is more than achievable. Provide active support and encouragement to your peers and those attempting to follow in your footsteps. And then foster within us a pride of being where we are and a sense of resilience that are central to our identities as women and as researchers. And these are my pit troopers. These pit troopers are the extraordinary ladies, whereby they can go to the most harsh condition of the peatland, that is the pit doom. Many, I am very confident, including men, have not been able to go to the central part of the pit dome. And I used to tease the girls that you can buy an air ticket to London anytime, but you cannot buy an air ticket to the pit dome. And these pit troopers of Tropical Pit Research Institute are both very physical and psychologically very strong. And they are vital in enabling women researchers to scale their way through the deepest pit swamp forest. And the challenging environment will not dampen their spirit in exploring the charms of the tropical peatland. And these are the graduates that we have developed through the last 10 years. From 4 of them are from universities in Japan, and currently Azima, a master's graduate from UPM, is now doing her PhD in Nagoya University, and she will be the future successor of the pit trooper. Yeah, so to the early career scientists, these life stories and shared worries, which can be awesome, create a sense of hope, optimism, and inspiration to the younger generation. We must continue to inspire and nurture one another through our collaborative network. As your careers develop, take not to climb the ladder alone, but pull the other women with you. Women can be part of the scientific research findings and how they fit the bigger picture, bringing in data, exploring different ideas on developing sustainable management, soil and productivity of the land. Now, this is the way how we make sure we create events to make sure the government are aware and give recognition to the people about the work that they are doing. And the mother's survival skill. Sometimes we tend to point finger, but before you point the finger, please answer the 4 fingers about ourselves. In the old days, our grandmothers have to use firewood to cook. There was no washing machine, there's no refrigerator, there's no freezer. So and yet they can have 10 children, 12 children. And now you have all the electrical appliances with only 2 to 3 children, and the most maybe 5 children, and there should be no reason why you cannot do it, you know. So you have to learn to balance the motherhood with a successful career, and as a parenting role, you need to do the following. Set your priorities. Don't spend time chatting, gossiping on the handphone. Be organized and efficient. Plan all your menu and do weekly cooking, not daily cooking, because you have the refrigerator and the freezer. When you are at work, try your best to focus entirely on your work. And when you're at home, you can focus entirely on your family and yourself. Get everybody in the family to work. It's called teamwork. There's no such thing called male, female. The children can even start doing their work the minute they know how to crawl. So you must also make sure you have a good support system, extended family, reach out to other parents, neighbors, and colleagues. It takes a village to raise a child. So the more we are going forward, the more we need to have our network to do it properly. Now, women in the tropical peatland research, the way forward. Every individual must take the initiative when embarking on any project. The possible strategies to overcome gender bias problems faced by women. Concept of partnership or teamwork, regardless of whether the leader is a woman or a man. To work together, the full participation of everyone. Adopt the process of consultation and collective decision making. Empowering women or even gender equality should not mean that women must be able to do anything that the men can do and vice versa. It is not necessary to have women in all areas of development. So the society must change its mindset, have the right to a personal choice of reference. So that's why the empowerment of women is an economic necessity for any nation. We should not abuse the word feminist just because the Europeans say feminist, Asian also say feminist. Sorry, I do not support feminists. Instead of labeling a group as feminist, why not take a neutral point of view of social justice? A good example is the environmental issue, where there are areas of activation for everyone of both genders from all walks of life with a common objective of a sustainable world for future generations. So my dream is for this little girl is to have opportunity to have better education. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Melling, for the inspiring and very wonderful presentations about the roles of women in tropical peatland research. Yes, and I agree with you. We need to encourage more participations of women in these sectors, especially in peatland research, because in Asia and Pacific, we only have 25% of women researchers. And now we will continue with the first part with the title of Peatland Cross ICT Cross Women. We have 4 distinguished speakers. These 4 Wonder Women will present their lectures on peatland research with ICT applications and also involvement of women in the sector. First, I will invite Ms. Deborah Belawan from Selangor Forestry Department, Malaysia. Ms. Deborah Belawan is an Assistant Director for Forest Plantations and Innovation, Selangor Forestry Department, Malaysia. She started forestry professions in 2011. And let's give the floor to Ms. Deborah Belawan. Ms. Deborah, please unmute. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Fitri. So I will share my screen first. Okay, good morning, everyone. So today I will share about peatland management at Raja Musa Forest Reserve in Malaysia. And for introduction, Raja Musa Forest Reserve is located in the northwestern part of the state of Selangor, and it was gazetted as a forest reserve in 1990. And for our information, all permanent reserve forests gazetted under National Forestry Act Amendment in 1985. Peatland forest is one of the major ecosystems which play a vital role in socio-economic development and sustaining biodiversity element. Okay, this map shows the distribution of peatland forest in Selangor. This is for peatland forest under the permanent reserve forest in Selangor, which is located in north and south of Selangor. and the total area cover about 91,080 hectares. And for Raja Musa, it's cover about 35,656 hectares. Okay, in Selangor, Peatland Forest, Peatland it play a vital role in socio-economic and livelihood of the local communities, particularly in the fisheries industry, ecotourism sector, and recreation activities. Locally plays an important role in supplying water for domestic, especially for Tanjung Karang and Sekinchan, and also for agriculture users for Sungai Karang rice field. As what we can see in this map, this is the land use surrounding Raja Musa Forest Reserve here. And here have a village and also ex-mining Bestari Jaya. And here got Tanjung Karang paddy field and also have oil palm plantation. And Raja Musa Forest Reserve has global importance for its role in maintaining endangered and endemic species and as few carbon sink. Okay, according to North-South Peatland Forest Scientific Biodiversity Expedition on 2013, it was found that over 107 species of tree, most of which are peat-swamp species, and also 20 species of mammals are rare and endangered mammals such as the sundeer, leopard, tapir, and forest gharial. And it's also found 170 species of bird, of which 145 are breeding residents, including endangered species such as hornbill and the short-toed cockerel, and also found over 100 species of fish, including 6 species endemic and 50 species restricted to blackwater rivers, and also 32 species of orchid. 2 new records for Selangor, that is Bulbophyllum curtisi and Pomatocarpus bassicata, which is unique and added the value of biodiversity in this forest. So this is how we manage the Raja Musa Forest Reserve, and the Selangor state government had imposed a moratorium for any logging activities in permanent reserve forest for 25 years since 2010. So there's no any logging activities until now. And also state government also commit to maintain at least 30% of their land as permanent reserve forest. And for Peatland Forest Management itself, the state government have developed a comprehensive implementation of integrated management plan for North Selangor Peatland Forest in the period of 2014 to 2020. In this integrated management plan, we are focused in three different plans, which is buffer zone management, prevention of forest fire, and also rehabilitation plan. For buffer zone management, it's aimed to reduce and mitigate the negative influences of the activities taking place adjacent to the forest reserve, while for prevention of forest fire, it's provide guidance for multiple stakeholders to work together to prepare, prevent, prepare for, respond to, and recover after fire. And the third is rehabilitation plan. It focuses on facilitating natural regeneration of forests by restoring the hydrology and ecology. So this is our focus on buffer zone management, the first plan in the IMP. Okay, buffer zone plan is produced to maintain the integrity of the Raja Musa Forest Reserve. Okay, this zone was made according to district, current land use, and types of economic activities being carried out around the buffer zone. This is the buffer zone. And for prevention of forest fire, we have prepared a map of fire hazard fire hazard to detailed area of high risk, medium risk, and also low risk fire hazard, which prioritize activities and work needed to further prevent a fire. So as what we can see, the red color show the high risk of fire incident. So here I just share the statistic of fire incident at Raja Musa Forest Reserve. As what we can see here, in year 2014 was the highest area affected by forest fire, but it reduced until now we get a zero. No more forest fire at Raja Musa Forest Reserve. So in order to combat and prevent forest fire, Selangor State Forestry Department has developed and enhanced infrastructure such as we built a canal block to raising water level by blocking abandoned logging canal, and also to prevent further drainage of the area. And it's also have the same with check dam and clay dike. We also have the to maintain the water level, and we also build a water retention pond. It's also it's to prevent the spread of fire, and we also install a piezometer. This piezometer is to monitor the water table. And in this Raja Musa Forest Reserve, we also built a watchtower. This is for monitoring any activities surrounding this forest area. And we also install a HDPE pipe. This is to re-wet forest area. And we also install a fire danger rating system, FDRS signboard. It is important tools to provide an early warning of the potential forest fire. And besides that, we also develop a fire prevention team, which is the member of this team, our staff from Selangor State Forestry Department. And now we have 55 personnel. And we also networking with communities. And hydrology system management also very important to keep the forest. And effort taken by Selangor State Forest Department is like we build a fire break, check dam, clay dike, and also canal block. So as what we can see here, the aerial view of the picture is showing the innovative fire prevention action for re-wetting the forest reserve using HDPE pipe with pressure pump from adjacent ex-mining pond here. So it will be activated during the dry period and firefighting operation. If there are forest fire incident, so we will pump the water from the ex-mining pond. So actually, it's really helps to prevent and control the fire, and also it support the rehabilitation site through supplying water. So this picture show how the area naturally recover after forest fire incident on 2012. Like the picture at the left. Okay. After this incident, we immediately block the canal here, and after 1 year and 7 months, the bird area managed to recover naturally with the help of optimum water level that had been practiced over this area. And this is a picture on August 2018. It looked greener than the 2012. So another plan in integrated management is rehabilitation plan. In this plan, we do planting activities and also we organize a planting program. Okay, we planting activities by our departments, Selangor Forestry Department. It's aimed to create forest cover, prevent peatland forest fire, haze, and global warming. This activity was created to provide hands-on experience on conservation value and a great opportunity to explore and to know better the importance and function of the Raja Musa Forest Reserve to local communities and volunteers. This planting activity started in year 2010 in Raja Musa, and species plants such as Sorea leprosula, Anisoptera marginata, Insia palembanica, Genistylus, Eutia, species Makaranga, and many others. And we also organize crown breedings, and also with community, with student, with government agency, with foreigner, and also with volunteer. And this picture show how our Selangor County fully support the Raja Musa Forest Reserve rehabilitation program. So to encourage local community involved in rehabilitation and conservation, Selangor Forestry Department in collaboration with GEC, we have established a Friend of North Selangor, Peatland Forest on August 2012. Member consists from 4 villages surround Raja Musa Forest Reserve. Okay, this team role as an eyes and ears for Forestry Department. Forestry Department, you cannot see. And this team involved in the forest fire monitoring and prevention in buffer zone areas of the forest reserve on daily basis during drought season. And this is their activity. They established a community nursery. This is to supply peat swamp tree species for the Raja Musa Forest Reserve forest rehabilitation program and support the socio-economic activities of the local community at Kampung Bestari Jaya. They also be a facilitator for monthly tree planting activity. Okay, and they also do fire monitoring and prevention and develop the ecotourism package and also participate in any exhibition and creating awareness program. So in Raja Musa Forest Reserve, Selangor Forestry Department has established an outdoor classroom for peatland education entitled the Center of Excellence for Peatland Forest in Selangor in year 2014. It just consisting of a simple roof structure fit with interpretation material. The center serves as a focal point to facilitate on-site learning activities. So the Raja Musa Forest Reserve in Selangor was accredited to be part of the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy in 2017 and as a pioneer site for the peatland forest rehabilitation and conservation project in Southeast Asia and Malaysia. That's all from me. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah Belawan. And for the second speaker of this session, I will invite Professor Insinyur Dr. Adwati Sali. Professor Adwati Sali is currently a professor at Department of Computer and Communication System, Faculty of Engineering, Universiti Petra Malaysia, since February 2019. Previously, he was a Deputy Director of UPM Resource Management Center, responsible for research planning and knowledge management. She obtained her PhD in mobile and satellite communications from the University of Surrey, UK, and she will deliver a presentation with title of When Peatlands Meet Data and LoRaWAN. Prof. Adwati Sali, the floor is entirely yours.
Thank you, Vitri. So let me just share my slides now. Okay, thank you, Vitri, for the introduction. So I'm going to talk about how we deploy IoT system in the Peatland, specifically Raja Musa Forest Reserve, the one that has been introduced and explained by Puan Deborah Belawan just now, and how we use data and LoRaWAN to make use of the Peatland data that we have collected. So this is a project, a collaboration project between Malaysia, Brunei, as well as Indonesia, and we have my collaborators, my partners, and my sisters, I can say, Dr. Lailan as well as Dr. Mida, who will be presenting after this. So this is what the project is all about. So basically, I will update on the progress of the project as well as our findings, because the project has ended, as what Imoto-san has highlighted just now. But we are looking for more collaborations, even with anyone and everyone in this room, in this webinar. We would like to invite for potential collaboration in the future. Okay, so as we know how transboundary haze happen in ASEAN region, and we can see that one of the factors, of course, there are so many factors of this transboundary haze, but one of it is peatland forest fire. So we are looking into questions as to answer this, how we can improve and complement the existing peatland management. So the current peatland management has been superb, has been implemented and in place for so many years already, as what Puan Deborah has highlighted just now. So I'm totally impressed, especially the one at Raja Musa Forest Reserve. The management is a collaboration between the regulatory body, government, as well as NGOs, especially Global Environment Center, as well as Sahabat Hutan Gambut Selangor Utara, SIGSU just now. So this project come into place, how we can better improve and integrate the manual peatland management with IoT-based peatland forest management or peatland forest system. Okay, so we are promoting cost-effective IoT system, because when we say technology, people always ask, is it too expensive when we start deploying, technology in the peatland forest? So we are promoting this cost-effective system, and this presentation, I'm also going to present how we ensure that the peatland forest is covered by the system, because you see that sometimes peatland forests are in remote areas, quite hard to reach to the mobile networks. If you have 4G or LTE networks or Wi-Fi, it couldn't reach. At the peatland forest, you couldn't reach this wireless access technology. So how do we ensure that? And number 4 is, what are we going to do with the collected or profile peatland data? So it's about all these questions that I'm going to present today. I hope it is not too much technical for you, but please stop me or ask question regarding anything on this project. So this project, we know that how this happened in 2019, and then in 2018, just a year before the transboundary haze happened, the severe one in 2019, we got this funding by NICT Japan. So we would like to thank Imoto-san and his team at NICT for having faith in us, invest in our proposal. So Alhamdulillah, we have implemented this 3 IoT system is replicated in 3 peatland forests, one in Raja Musa Forest Reserve, as what Puan Deborah explained just now, and we have another one in Badas, Brunei, which Dr. Vida will explain and present after this, as well as in Jambi, Indonesia. Dr. Lailan will explain on this after this. Okay, so specifically for Malaysia, we chose Raja Musa Forest Reserve because it is located in Selangor. UPM and MIMOS are 2 of the project collaborators of this NAPC project. So UPM and MIMOS are located in KL and Selangor. So this is the closest, one of the closest peatland forests with us, which is around 1.5 hours drive from UPM. And we have been advised by Selangor Forestry Department to concentrate on the high-risk area, which is the one colored in red. And then we learned from JPNS, from Selangor Forestry Department, how the monitoring has been done all these years, and the peatland data collection is done, for example, maybe 2 weeks or maybe 1 month manually by GEC as well as Sahabat Hutan Gambut, or supervised by Selangor Forestry Department. And we know that this is the clock tower available in Raja Musa, yeah, especially to monitor the area. And there are certain areas, that has gone through rehabilitation programs. It has been burnt before, but now it is getting better. It is being rehabilitated. So from this scenario, we talk, UPM, MIMOS, and Raja Musa, Selangor Forestry Department, talk about where exactly can we deploy the IoT system, because we want to make sure this proof of concept could complement. We are not replacing the manual peatland management. We want to complement and probably improve the peatland management system in the area. So we deploy these sensors, basically the piezometer. We connect it to the LoRa node, as the transmitter, and then if you can see here, this is the piezometer connected to the sensor node, and this sensor node inside the box, and it is transmitted to the LoRa gateway, which is on the tower. So this is the transmitter on the ground, and this is the receiver on the tower. So why do we choose the tower? Because of its height, it can cover large area of the forest. Because we want to make sure that the sensor node has direct transmission, with no losses to reach to the LoRa gateway. Because just imagine that you are having your Wi-Fi. Sometimes when you are away from your access point, you get the bars getting less and less and less, right? And sometimes you couldn't even send your message or making a phone call or something. So it's the same concept. The closer you are to the gateway, in this case, this is the gateway, the better the transmission, the better the signal. But it shouldn't be that close, because the tower is, vertical, and it's around maybe 40 meters up. So, but if you're exactly underneath the tower, it won't be giving you the highest signal as compared to 100 meters away, for example. So we studied this. This is what we call as a propagation model for wireless transmission. So from the LoRa gateway, it gets connected to the internet using the normal mobile communications like 4G or LTE and etc. So we use SIM card at the tower here. So this LoRa gateway is connected to the SIM card, and the SIM card can reach to the internet and to the cloud server where we store our data. So basically, this is what we did. I will try to explain that in layman terms as much as possible. But you can get the writing, the documentation of this findings from here. We have published in CIIS 2021. So thank you, Dr. Vida, for inviting us in this conference. And alhamdulillah, this paper got Best Paper Award. So LoRa optimization for peatland monitoring. Remember when I talked about how we want to make it cost effective? So IoT system, everyone starts like, is it expensive? Is it feasible to be deployed in a forest? Is there any coverage in the area? So what we try to do is to make it as cheap as possible. And how do we do that? Is we make sure that we use wireless access technology that is using free frequency. So LoRa is one of the candidates. In wireless communications, there are a lot of candidates. Wi-Fi, the one that you have in your, sorry, my children are noisy. This is what women has to endure, working from home, children at home. Okay, anyway. So how do we make sure that this LoRa can be covering the whole area? So we investigate the parameters. I won't bore you with the details. The parameters, the transmission parameters. So we tune the transmission parameters so that it can still cover the area as much as possible. But of course, this is just a proof of concept. We deployed 2 sensors and 1 gateway. But in the future, we plan to include more sensors if Puan Deborah allows us. We plan to build more sensors so that we can have better accuracy of the measurement. So we tested this LoRa wireless technology, wireless access technology in several land use in Raja Musa. So you can see that some of the area is near to the palm oil, some of the area is near to the mine system, some of the area is bushes. So we just go through make a test drive all over the areas, and then we see how is the signal like from the sensors to the gateway. So we figured that there is a way for us to configure the transmission parameters so that the LoRa coverage can still maintain even with the peatland trees. You know, peatland trees sometimes it's quite high up, and even the leaves can scatter the signal. So in other words, even the foliage and the terrain can reduce the signals. So we want to make sure that signal is maintained, yeah, with certain quality of service, even though it is in a rough area. So basically, these are our findings. So several design parameters like spreading factor, you know, boring stuff, data rate, distance, etc. But we can ensure that LoRa can be used as a transmission for IoT system in Raja Musa Forest Reserve. So that is the important thing that we need to know. So that is from the transmission point of view using LoRa. And the IoT system. And the second part is on the data part, on the peatland data analytics. So you can find more details from this presentation in the second work that we have published. Yeah, you can find out, it's already been published, so you can always download and read through, and you can always ask me if you have any question. So we're looking into peatland data. So I would like to thank our team, especially Dr. Sharifah and Dr. Liu. Just now for LoRa, I would like to thank my team, Dr. Lukman, as well as Mr. Azizi, the key person. So for this peatland analytics, when we start deploying the IoT system in the beginning of 2020, yeah, around end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, then we start collecting data. So we have a good set of data that we can start analyzing. Of course, there are challenges that we encountered, especially in 2020 in March, when pandemic hit us and lockdown happens in Malaysia, and we couldn't go there, because even though we can access it over the internet, for example, we have the dashboard, we have the data coming in every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, whatever we have set it for, but we still need to go there to validate the data. Maybe not every day, but maybe once a month. Yeah, we still need to go there with the forest ranger, with Deborah's team, to validate, is it true, the data that we have received from the IoT system with the data that we manually collect, especially the groundwater level. So we couldn't do that during the pandemic season, especially during the lockdown, because we couldn't travel to that area. So what we did is, what my team did is, we have to make sure that the data is fit, yeah, through data validation, and there are certain data that is quite good for us to analyze. But apart from that, whenever that it goes off, like totally different from the manual collection, from the manual data, we have to discard the wrong data, the erroneous data. So the good data is the one that we start analyzing. So yeah, this is the process that I was talking about. The ground, we collect the data as well as the ground and atmospheric data, yeah, so that we can correlate. Yeah, eventually we want to find the groundwater level, because this is the main parameter that determine whether the soil needs to be inundated with water, or the soil is very dry and it is prone to peatland forest fires. So the team, yeah, Dr. Sharifah and Dr. Liu, has conducted machine learning algorithm, yeah, using multivariate regression to see a potential prediction or estimation of groundwater level for the next hour as well as to the next day water level. So we got this from Global Environment Center, GEC, as to the threshold of water table depth, and how we can start alerting the public. Yeah, so we do it offline. Yeah, we collected the data, but we do it offline in terms of data analytics. So we come up with this regression analysis. So basically, I won't go through the details, but basically we managed to do simple prediction or simple estimation of groundwater level for the next hour with root mean square error of 7.4, and for the next day around 27 root mean square error. So the lower the error, the better the prediction, yeah, because it means that it is more accurate. So of course, when you have data, a longer data, huge data, we call it big data, then the estimation will be improved and getting better and better using using machine learning. So this is just initial findings. We need to do more. We are sure about that. We need to have longer data and big data, big Peatland data, and maybe we can correlate with other kind of parameters. Okay. So next, you can go to this YouTube channel if you want to know more about the project, especially on the LoRa optimization for peatland monitoring, which we have copyrighted and won an award. And Alhamdulillah, the project has won, just like what Imoto-san was highlighted before, quite a number of awards, not only in Malaysia, but also in Brunei and Indonesia, as what Dr. Vida and Dr. Lainan will present after this. But in Malaysia, it has won quite a number of recognitions and awards, Alhamdulillah. So just recently, yesterday, it was the US ASEAN Prize for Women. So we fingers crossed whether the project will win or not. Okay, and it has also won an exhibition at the MTE 2021 and International Award of Merit. Okay, I think that is all, and we have also been promoting the project, yeah, all over ASEAN, not just in Malaysia, in Brunei and Indonesia as well. But this is just some excerpts from the social media and printed local newspaper promoting this project, and this is one special retweet by our then Muslim Minister YB Khadijah Jamaluddin. Okay, I think that is all, Fitri, and just I would like to acknowledge NICT Japan for being the main funder of this project, and another co-funding by EU under Erasmus Plus Capacity Building in Higher Education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Aduati, for the technical presentations on the observations and data collections, and
I
we
hope
will
it's
hear
not
more.
too technical
No,
for
no,
you.
no, it's very interesting. We will hear more from you in the panel sessions, and now I would like to invite the third speaker, Dr. Lailan Syaufina from IPB University Indonesia. Dr. Lailan Syaufina is now an Associate Professor of Forest Fire, Faculty of Forestry and Environment, IPB University. She is a passionate researcher and educator with a deep expertise in peatland fire, community empowerment, and climate change. Her research involves peatland fire behavior, fire impacts, fire emissions, or haze-related fire causes, and also she obtained her PhD in forestry from Universiti Petra Malaysia. Now please welcome Dr. Lailan Syaufina.
Thank you, Mbak Fitri. I'd like to share my presentation. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to share my experience on how Indonesia tackles peatland fires. I'm from Faculty of Forestry and Environment at IPB University. My presentation would be divided into three main parts, namely peatland and peatland fire in Indonesia, fire causes, and peatland fire management. I should apologize for the noise here because I'm now in Jambi in fire brigade office, which is located to the next to the main road. I hope it's not disturbing. As explained in detail by Dr. Nuli Meling this morning, that peatland has various important functions. So Indonesia also has the biggest or the largest tropical peatland in the world. We have 14.9 million hectares of peatland area, and the function, of course, the hydrological balance, the carbon stock and sequestration, biodiversity, and also livelihood and ecotourism. And now how to how peatland fire occur. The peatland fire mostly started from the surface of the pit, and then the fire spread downward and spread vertically and horizontally as the pit is organic material, so it is also a good fuel. But the velocity or the fire spread in the ground is very slow. It's less than 3 centimeters per hour. And this fire can be developed to the surface fire and also to the ground fire, which is faster than the ground fire. And I think you also already know the fire impacts of the peatland fire. The impacts not only to the pit itself, but also to the vegetation, to the the fauna, and also to the haze, yeah, to the air pollution, and of course to the human being and transportation, to the daily life, and many fire impacts of the peatland fires. And about 90% of the transboundary haze in ASEAN regions come from peatland fires. And what is the cause of the peatland fires? Based on our long-term research and observations, we found out that 100% of the peatland fire causes are human factor. None of the peatland fires caused by natural factors, all by human factors, especially when people prepare their lands by burning to convert the peat swamp forest to other land uses, like in this picture. This picture also shows us the conversion from peat swamp forest to plantation. Normally they use the fire, but since the last few years, the government has strengthened the law enforcement, and the company or people need to use zero burning techniques for land preparation. The other land conversion also not only for plantation but also for the settlement. We found this trend in Riau province just a few weeks ago, and also in South Sumatra, and it is common in that area that burning lands also used for preparing for the settlement. And of course, this settlements is dangerous when the rainy season comes. It will be flooding everywhere in the houses. Now we are coming to the forest and land fire management. In forest and land fire management, we have four main aspects, namely prevention, forest suppression, human resources and development, and post-fire actions. I will elaborate more in detail with pictures. From this figure, we can see in the last since 2015, we have a decreasing trend of burn area in Indonesia. It means that the government has been successful to control the fire, as the government has been focused on fire prevention. The fire prevention has been the priority in fire management in Indonesia, and it is on the right track of the government policy. And for the fire prevention, Indonesia has developed the early warning system for forest and land fire, including the monitoring of water level in several parts of, especially in Sumatra and Kalimantan, where the largest peatland located. This is the system for water level monitoring. And because the water level is the good indicator for fire vulnerability, especially when it influence the moisture content of the peat soil. And Indonesia also has developed the early warning system using the drought index by BMKG, and for the monitoring, water level monitoring coordinated by Mangrove and Peatland Restoration Agency. And the Ministry of Forestry and Ministry of Environment and Forestry also has developed fire information system and early detection, in which we can find the hotspot, daily hotspot, and also the fire control activities. You can see in their website. We call it Sipongi. And the government also has placed some monitoring, fire monitoring using thermal CCTV technology in several parts in Sumatra and Kalimantan to have more accurate information of the fire occurrence. And since the last 2 years, IPB University, coordinated by Professor Imasi Tanggang, also has developed a mobile application for forest and land fire patrol, where the fire brigade or fire patrols can use their handphone to locate the hotspot or the fire location, and also to report all the patrols activities. So it is very useful for them. And I am now in Jambi with Prof. Imas to test this mobile application to improve the application for useful activities. And for the fire suppression, Indonesia has experience in ground suppression and aerial suppression, as well as weather modification. It is difficult to control, to suppress the peatland fire, as it occurs in the ground, under the ground. So it is very difficult to suppress. That's why it's really hard working to do this, and joint suppression among the forest fire brigades, or we call it Manggala Agni, the police, army, forest ranger, and also community has been implemented. For the area suppression, Indonesia also have a good experience on this, and we need also weather modification, because the peatland fires can be put off only with the heavy rain. So the weather modification is conducted to make or to produce the rain. And this is the human resource development. The Ministry of Environment and Forestry has developed and has Manggala Agni or Forest Fire Land Fire Brigade, more than 2,000 personnel in 37 stations in the 12 fire-prone, and involve also the army and police, and also the National Disaster Management Authority, and also Forest Fire Brigade on forestry and plantation industry. So we involve all the stakeholders related to the forest fire control. And this is the best practice. We also have best practices, and we can see here that in fire prevention or in fire management, we involve also women. We enhance the capacity of the woman to in fire management, including how to reporting or how to use the IT like this. We have also fire team of women. So it is very interesting to see the woman in the field doing the fire fighting activities. And like this, the zero burning techniques, the control burning techniques, and also the agroforestry system. And the most important things is the multi-stakeholder partnership. So Indonesia has realized that for peatland fires especially, and of course forest and land fires in general, cannot be managed alone. So we need to work together hand in hand with other stakeholders. So the private sector, the academician, the community, and also the TSO to work together to to manage the forest and land fires. And there are some programs for this, including the community, women empowerment program, the fire care community group, peatland independent village. Yeah, we have the government has a program. We call it Desa Mandiri Gambut, peatland the independent village. In this village, there are some incentive scheme to empower community involving in peatland management, and also fire alert village, haze free village, and disaster resilient village. So all village-based program, because the community is very important as they live in the field, so they need to be more empowered. So as the closing remarks, despite of the importance of peatland area in Indonesia for the environmental balance, peatland fire has become the most important threat to peatland management, causing transboundary haze pollution in the ASEAN region. And 100% of peatland fire caused by human factor, mostly burning activities for land preparation related to land conversion. And in the last 5 years, since the last 5 years, Indonesia has changed paradigm in forest and land fire control by focusing priority on fire prevention. And we have developed the technological and social approaches, which is implemented to tackle the fire problem. And the multi-stakeholder partnership with various programs is the key for successful fire control. Besides, the best practices need to be disseminated broadly, maybe exchange program among the region can be also implemented in the future. And also women empowerment need to be enhanced. Well, with this, I would like to end my presentations. Greetings from our colleagues here, the Fire Brigade in Jambi Province. Thank you very much. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good
Waalaikumsalam
afternoon.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Lailan Shaufina, for your presentation. And we will hear more from you in the panel sessions. And I would like to invite our third speaker, the fourth speaker for the first sessions, Dr. Wida Susanti Haji Suhaili from University Technology Brunei. Dr. Wida obtained her PhD in Education Technologies from University of Edinburgh, and now she is an assistant professor from University Technology Brunei, and also Deputy Director for the Center for Innovative Engineering. She has been involved in many important projects and winning many spectacular awards. She has also been very active with ASEAN IVO project since 2018. Dr. Wida Susanti will present a lecture on peatland forest fire mitigations management in Brunei. Dr. Wida, the time is yours. Dr. Wida, please unmute your mic.
Thank you, Ms. Fitri. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the introduction. So let me share. Can you see my slide now?
Yes.
Is it on presentation mode?
No.
Okay, right.
Yes, this is okay.
Okay, right. So my presentation will be on how peatland forest fire mitigation is managed in Brunei Darussalam. So, but in the context of livelihood, women, as well as looking into science, technology, and innovation. Right, so a little bit of Brunei. So basically Brunei is one of the ASEAN member states, which we have a very small land size of 5,765 kilometers square, and our population have not even reached 500,000. But basically we still have 72% of our land area, which is still covered by forest. So it is basically still pristine and, you know, virgin in a way. So as you can look into the map here, 20% of the entire Light district is actually peat swamp forest. So that is our main concern. And if you look focus more deeper, because it's actually the boundary between Miri Sarawak as well as Light, but as Brunei. So this is our where the 20% of the peat forest is. As you can see in the northern side, this is where the development is basically, because we look into, there is a serial bypass actually created in this along the coastal highway. Yeah? So it's a highway that we created. So this actually causes the degradation of our peat swamp forest. So what is peat? Peat is actually, it's a good source of carbon. It actually can actually guard itself. So if you do not disturb the ecosystem, it will just, you know, it can actually be very strong enough to withhold any possible fire occurrences. So that's why you can, if you can see the information mentioned by Dr. Luling, as well as Ms. Deborah just now, for any peatland dome, there is no occurrence of fire, but it's only happening around the degraded areas. But once it's caught fire, it actually releases carbon. So this is the one that actually contributes to the transboundary haze. So in 2016, we actually flew in 2 helicopters, which cost us $5.6 billion to actually kill the fire. So it's actually, when it happened, it's very costly, because in 2016 itself, it took 96 days for it to clear the sky. Yeah, right. So next. So our main concern, our main focus area is basically in Badas, and this is the main area, which is our study area, where the yellow dots actually represent the fire marks. So this is where the fire happening. So as you can see, once it releases the carbon release, it which actually create the thick fog, the thick smoke on top of the canopy. So when this happened, we actually in the Royal Brunei Fire Rescue will be the one who is be the main team that actually kills the fire. So with them, there will be respective agencies involved, not just the fire rescue, but also the police, the Gurkhas, as well as representative from Brunei Shell, public work departments, as well as the paramedics. So what is it? What is the current occurrences then? So basically what we're trying to look into is 2 occurrences. One is when it's dry, as well as when it is wet. So when it is dry, fire happens, okay? Because there's a low water level. And when it happens, if we can't really solve it, we actually need to kill it using fire bombs. Okay, so what are some of the fire suppression that the fire brigade do? So one is actually total flooding. Second is water bombing. Okay, followed by creating breaks or pools, so it slows down the spread of the fire. And not only that, it makes it easy for the firefighters to access. And this actually minimizes the fire damage. Because as we know, the fire when happening in peatland is actually underneath. So we actually do not know where the head is. So that's one of the main reason it could actually be a killing factor for our firefighters. And as you can see in Brunei Darussalam, our peatland forest is actually happening along the coastal highway. And in our coastal highway, there is no fire hydrants. So the inadequate water supply is actually one of the major difficulties that we're facing. So some areas cannot be accessed, and some of the equipment could actually be broken down due to prolonged operation, because in 2016 itself, it actually takes up to 95 days to actually clear the sky. Okay. So, and when it's a windy condition, that is actually another attributes to make it worse. Yeah, and they also experience wild animal attacks. So some of the recommendations from one of the stakeholders, which is the Royal Brunei Fire Rescue, is basically coordinating with relevant agencies. By strengthening this, we actually able to coordinate and cooperate with the relevant agencies. And we also need to create awareness by putting a lot of signboards as well as informing through the social media. And on top of that, they also do a lot of continuous patrolling. So when it is flood, so this is basically looking into another stakeholder. So we actually engage with Heart of Borneo. So Heart of Borneo initiative is basically looking into how we actually govern, how we protect the forest in Brunei, in Borneo Island. So there was a certain workshop that has happened, and then we actually signed the declaration in 2007 in Bali, where the respective representative for Borneo Island, which is from Sabah, Sarawak, as well as Kalimantan, Indonesia, and Brunei signed this declaration. So they have come up with a lot of conservation initiatives as well as programs. So in terms of acts, in terms of programs, rehabilitation programs, awareness programs, and basically looking into how research and development collaboration with high local institute as well as foreign institute to actually tackle this issue. So we also look into ecotourism because, as I mentioned, 72% is still pristine. So we can actually evolve it to ecotourism as well as research and development. So another stakeholder that they were looking into in terms of the peatland management is basically what we call as Brunei Shell joint venture, because as I mentioned, the occurrence of peat is basically in the Light District. This is where our oil produce are. So Brunei Shell Petroleum, Brunei Liquefied Natural Gas, as well as Wetland International are actually part of our collaborators. Yeah. So JASTIP is part of the policy makers, whereas Heart of Borneo is the governing body. So these are basically some of the action plan that they have done. They actually look into biodiversity action plan in terms of creating awareness, as well as developing implementation plan to restore these degraded areas. So some of the activities that they actually created was creating canal blockings. So because as we know, if the water is actually released from the peatland area, the amount of water, the groundwater level will be low, and this will contribute to fire. So we would like to maintain this by actually creating the canal blocking, so the water is retained. Yeah, so this is some of it. And then in terms of the other stakeholder, which is smart EVT, we're looking into conservation of peatland. So because as we know, there's one of the very unique tree is called what we call a Shorea albida. So Shorea albida is basically only occurring in peat swamp forest, and in 1995, coined by this researcher, it's only available in Sarawak and Brunei. So that's why we actually one of the trees that we would like to conserve. Yeah, so our 5th national report to convention and biological diversity, which is focusing on badas. This species is actually a critical habitat, so we would like to actually help it from being extinct. So currently, there's an effort to actually plant this 12 baby alan, because this baby alan can only bear seedling once a year. So it's very rare for it to actually reproduce. Yeah. Right. So we look at the current location, which is what we are looking into, the focus area where NAPC project is focusing on, as well as because this focus area is basically not just NAPC project, but also other research project is also concentrating on this area, because this area is where our pipeline is for our Brunei natural gas. So that's why we would like to conserve and protect this area very much. So next, I would like to tell you about the evolution of peat project in the context of UTB. So we started in 2016, and we initiated through Royal Brunei Fire Rescue, because they are the first one to deal with the forest fire. So they are our first stakeholders. So with this, we actually created a prototype where, because we understood that the fire brigade actually created dikes, right, as well as bore pits. So we actually tried to look into whether we can use wireless sensor network to help assist this. So that was in 2017. And that project actually won several awards as well. And then it was also brought to a PICTA, which is Asia Pacific competition for her project. And then it was continued again with another project where we extended further in terms of applying irrigation, where we detect whether it's low, then we actually release water. So it's actually a proof of concept, but that is when we are just concentrating on fire Royal Brunei Forest Rescue as our stakeholder. But as we evolve, we actually look into HOB, which is the heart of Borneo. So then we actually go to the site, to the field, to actually experience, to understand what is it, the context itself, to actually create it, come up with a solution. So we involve a number of students. So we expose not just male boys, but also female into the site. So it was quite encouraging that they actually wanted to join us in the field trips as well. So we developed some awareness videos, and these awareness videos were actually won some competition as well. And it was actually used in the opening launch of our first workshop, which is Brunei NAPC dialogue session, which was done in 2019. So in ASEAN IVO, there was a call. So we actually presented to actually see whether we can actually win the call. So we presented on smart environment protection, disaster management of peatland forest fire. So with that, we actually collaborated with Prof. Burhan. So he was actually the first leader, but then since he retired, so Prof. Adwati take place. So we have our first meeting in KL in 2018. So that was when it started off, deploying a real technology into the site. So we would like to thank ASEAN IVO for the sponsorship in terms of our equipment. As I mentioned, we actually involve a lot of stakeholders. So our stakeholder increases as we go along. So from there on, we actually talk to NDMC. And when NDMC, which is looking into the Natural Disaster Management Center, they were actually advising us to look into something visual. So we look into visual IoT as well in terms of addressing the issue. Yeah. So it was presented, some of our finding was actually presented in JASTIP as well as during the NAPC dialogue session. We actually involved our stakeholder that we have already created links with. So we have Out of Borneo, Just Tree, the Fire Brigade, BLNG, Brunei Shell, as well as SMART. So each and every one of us presented what we have done so far. So to understand what is the context and what our way forward to actually try to look into how we preserve and then help in terms of mitigation forest fire in Peatland Fadas. So we also have a site visit. So we visited the place and we increased this members as well. Because I'm coming from School of Computer Informatics, we would like to bring in the staff from the Faculty of Engineering, so it can help us in developing the solution. And the creation of awareness was also not only done in terms of international, some of the regional. So we look into, there was a Trans-boundary Haze meeting done, which was in 2019. So we were actually invited to present, as well as an exhibition where we presented in front of His Majesty. So the project tend to expand, not just from one side, but we're looking at different angles now. So as you can see, we're looking at visual IoT and then now looking at LoRa. So when we apply it to LoRa, we actually wanted to see whether we can actually look whether it's sustained or not. So along the way, we won, as I mentioned, we won a few awards as well. So in 2018, with the recent project before ASEAN IVO, we actually won the first prize for Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for environmental management. So that was one of the strong traction that we have to actually link into with the respective stakeholders. Yeah, and then we also invited for Malaysia in Indonesia for the MAP fire. And with this, we actually link with Professor Imas. So one of our PhD students will be with her as well in terms of co-supervising. And we presented in the regional conference on natural disaster. So we won best paper on this as well. Yeah, and then we were invited for ASEAN Japan Science, Technology and Innovation, which was in 2020 in Vietnam. So we talk about a few things, and one of it was the conservation of peatland, right, using sago. So I'll talk about that later, and a few talks, yeah, to actually create awareness so that because as mentioned by Dr. Lailan as well as Dr. Lulu, this is a collaborative work. It cannot be done by one person. It have to be involving a lot of networks, a lot of collaborators and relevant stakeholders as well. Yeah. So with NAPC, so this is the progress that we have. Okay, as I mentioned, we allocated the area. So we actually uses LoRa technology, but ours is using Livelihood. But as you know, in Brunei, we don't have any companies that actually can deploy it, directly. So we actually have to do it in-house. So we actually sign with the respective stakeholders. So because it uses connectivity, right? So we have AITI, one of our regulators body, and then our telcos, DST, and then one of our ANIAN, who actually, these are the people who collaborated in terms of giving us sponsorship for connectivity as well as the gateway, as well as AITI giving that sponsor to ensure that our process, our work is actually done accordingly. So here we are. doing site visits, as well as looking into where to plant, where to erect our gateway, etc. So we have boys now, because initially it was girls, but now we have boys because we are now going to deploy our solution. So because of that, we have the students are actually the students' boys. Yeah, so we developed this, we actually make connection, not just because there are two systems that we are looking into, Libelium as well as piezometer. So these two things need to be integrated. So we actually need to integrate for it to talk to one another. So I'm not going to bore you with the technical details, but eventually, finally, we managed to secure it. We managed to compile it together. So this is how it looks like at the end. And then we soon to deploy. Yeah. So upon deployment, before we deploy, we actually need to test it in-house. So we do an in-house testing for our system as well, to look whether we're collecting data, direct data, etc. So this is we deploy in Universiti Technology Brunei, where we look, this is the ground sensor, but we also have the weather station on our top building. Because we're deploying this into the real site, so we actually need to make sure that our sites are secured as well. So we erected some fence to actually ensure that our equipment are not lost, equipment are not tampered by animals, etc. So we actually have 4 plots. So we have here 4 plots. So the first plot, we have approval from the town and country planning. So and then we converted the third site into a test module. So if anything happened to our 3 modules, we can actually replace it. Okay? So we have erected our gateway, our weather station, as well as the fences. And lastly, we actually deployed our sensor to our site. So that was erected in location 3, which is the control area. But because of COVID, we haven't deployed the 2 other solutions yet, but we are hoping to be able to do so. But at the moment, we are concentrating on this one data that is coming from our control site. So this is how it looks like. So, and then as I mentioned just now, we are involved with JASTIP. So with JASTIP, the concern was on conservation using SAGO, as well as the conservation of Alan Shara. So again, because of COVID, we cannot proceed with this project, but hopefully we'll be able to restart it again. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is basically the collaboration of network have increases. So the next collaborators that we're working with is basically our Brunei Darussalam Meteorological Department, because we would like to validate our data. So we are now going to go through that in terms of validating the data using machine learning as well. Yeah. So how are we looking into inspiring and aspiring young researchers to work in STEM careers? So because of the traction that I won a few awards, the government, especially the government bodies, were actually inviting us for, and because of that I also got the national finalist for ASEAN US Science Prize for Women 2020, as well as for 2021. And congratulations, Dr. Prof. Adu, for being nominated as the regional finalist. Right, finger crossed. So basically, with the engagement, we actually try to increase the awareness to females. Yeah. So we have during the Hari Wanita Kebangsaan. So I was invited to talk to several sessions to entice people in terms of the adoption of technology to address problem that is we are facing in Brunei. So these are some of the excerpts. So this exposure as well as awareness actually try to encourage some of the women. So basically you can see just now. So I have a few more lady students now interested to actually join us for our upcoming projects. So that is all from my side. So thank you for all my collaborators as well as stakeholders, because without them I won't be here. Thank you. Back to you, Ms. Fitri.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wida. And yeah, before we conclude the first part of the webinar, I want to inform you that we will take 5 minutes break. So maybe you can go to the bathroom or grab your coffee or tea, and we will back in 5 minutes. But during the break, we will play a special video for you. We will resume in 5 minutes. Thank you, Fukuhara-san, for this spatial video. Now, if all of you are ready, we will continue with the second part of this webinar with the title of STI, Cross Knowledge, Cross Women. And for this part, we have three distinguished speakers here with us today. And the first speaker is Professor Dr. Dwi Astiani from Universitas Tanjung Pura, Indonesia. And she is a professor in tropical forest management, Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Tanjung Pura. She obtained her PhD in forestry and environmental studies from Yale University. Her field of works are including tropical peatland, forest dynamics, forest carbon, peatland fires, and also silviculture. Without further ado, let's welcome Prof. Dwi Astiani.
Thank you, Mbak Fitri, for the nice introduction. Let me share screen first. Okay. Good afternoon. I think good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As I introduced, I'm Dwi Astiani from Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Tanjung Pura in West Kalimantan, Indonesia. First of all, I would like to express my highest gratitude and appreciation to the organizing committee for inviting me to participate and share some of my research activities in Peatland in this wonderful moment, especially to Fukuhara-san from JASTIP, who has invited me as I'm one of member of the JASTIP Indonesian research team. On this occasion, allow me to share some experience about our research and activities in peat area of West Kalimantan. The title will be Sustainable Traditional Knowledge on Peatland Hydrological Management, Reduce Soil Carbon Dioxide Emission, Fire Risk, and Biomass Loss. As our As our previous speaker mentioned, that tropical peatland are complex and multifunctional and natural systems with specific environments which provide many important natural resource function globally, regionally, and locally. This ecosystem is an important carbon source among terrestrial forest ecosystem and does attract considerable scientific interest from the point of view of the global carbon cycle. Peatland are key links in the cycle of water, carbon, and other elements, support biodiversity and collect energy matter from organic matter. And as an homogeneous peatland, water and nutrient input from precipitation have important role in maintaining peatland. Previous study delivered that hydrology is the most important factor influencing ecology, development, function, and peatland processes. Peatland in Indonesia span about 21 million hectares and distribute in Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Papua. And was in West Kalimantan itself, it span about 1.7 million hectares. Unfortunately, only about 30% forest covered. Deforestation or any disturbance on environmental change can transform natural hydrological pattern and process for peatland water movement and thus alter and both carbon flows and fluxes. So the objective of this presentation is like just to search the scientific fact about the local wisdom and its role to peat soil carbon dioxide emission and fire risk and also biomass loss. And also to distribute the traditional wisdom and scientifically proven for sustainable future of peatland be managed properly and accordingly. And also to share experience on the effort of reducing peatland degradation involving the local communities and their wisdom. In West Kalimantan, some of the peat area is utilized for various agriculture activities. However, due to their nature, peatland development and management for agriculture land is not easy as other land management. The use of peatland for agriculture in Indonesia has a long historical basis, starting from the success of local communities who view peatland as a resource to produce traditional food, crop, fruits, spices, and then they grow into larger plantation that manage in other way to get better income, such as in building oil palm plantation, but still must be managed sustainably, where water level, forest fire, and biodiversity loss must be managed properly. In the course of various problems encountered utilizing the peatland, this happened because peatland have characteristics that are a lot different from rice field, for example, and other farmland that are commonly found in Indonesia. It takes some time to be able to change the peatland into productive land and or suitable land for agriculture activities. At the beginning, especially, it needs a variety of improvement and treatment so that vegetables, crops can thrive in the peatland area. Appropriate handling is needed because due to its function as an environmental buffer, peatland development and land cover change should be made in proper manner. Otherwise, the peatland development and land cover change from forest to other land use could decompose its organic matter faster than it used to be. These activities has resulted in enormous loss of biomass and thus CO2 emission and also combustion. The increase of peat organic matter decomposition concomitantly increasing the CO2 emission to the atmosphere. Traditional knowledge in agricultural practice. In natural condition or non-developed peatland, this area usually wet and sometimes inundated by water, by rainwater or tide. To develop this land, peatland traditional farmer in West Kalimantan has already a provision to manage peatland. A farmer mostly develop so-called parit cacing, small trenches of 30 to 40 centimeter depth built on each farmer land margin to reduce puddles during high water level, and at the same time, the trench also be used as their land markers. With this practice applied throughout generation to generation, it is interesting to scientifically discuss. We have our case study in a peatland of Kuburaya, West Kalimantan province in Indonesia. The village in communities of Kuburaya district were developed in 2002, most of them traditional farmers. And the land covered partially by degraded forest, shrub, open, non-cultivated areas. And each family processed the land into arable land, planting mixed crop, corn, sweet potato, cassava, pineapple, ginger, and some vegetable. And at the beginning of their inhabitant in this area, they relied on the traditional farming knowledge to cultivate the lands. However, 10 years later, local government program built larger canals close to the community crop farms and significantly affect their crops. And we assess CO2 emission on farmer croplands and also on forest larger canal development with a portable tool here, Lycor 8100 automatic soil CO2 plugs. Then compared the soil CO2 emission by separating root respiration and pit decomposition. And also we assess water table and other hydrologic condition at the same time when the emission assessment. So the assessment result indicate the soil CO2 emission on the peatland increased when water table was deeper. We can see that the increase of water table here from 20 to 30, 40 to until 60 increased peatland CO2 emission proportionally. The shift of water level, for example, from 20 to 60 centimeter will triple soil carbon dioxide emission from the soil. We also found that some environmental factor simultaneously increasing soil carbon dioxide emission. The result also show that some environmental factor significantly regulating CO2 in peatland, such as water level, water content, and soil temperature. It is special for in this area, but we found out in the other area they differently some environmental factor differently influence. We measure what they do in the daily the local wisdom from the community. That figure in the left side show that the rate of soil CO2 emission in some crop that farmer grow, and on the right side is a water table set up on each crops, and it figure out that the pit water table dictated CO2 emission. And result justify that the hydrology management such as practiced by West Kalimantan farmer on peatland resulted low CO2 emission. And this is lower than compared to abandoned burned peatland, for example, here that we compare. And we also searched for drought impact on pit surface water content in connecting them to possibilities to start fire. Within 8-week drought, the first 10 centimeter reduce the highest loss of water content, followed by the second layer 10 to 20 centimeter depth, and third layer like 20 to 30 centimeter depth. But all the water content on this site, on this experiment, critical to fire to be started. It is essential to set up water table level close to soil surface to maintain the water content. When farmer set up land with 30 to 40 centimeter water level, with similar loss of water portion in on their evaporation, the water content could be higher due to the capillarity movement of soil water from a lower pit layer. The capillary movement in the pit soil may reach to 20 to 30 centimeter above water level. So it's keep the water moist and wet. And we also set up the laboratory scale fire experiment. So the reducing water content on pit dictating biomass loss on pit fire event. Critical pit water content here about 200% in a weight base could start fire easily on pit surface, and it was reached in after 5 to 6 week dry season. The critical time may be shorter on field-based measurement when other environment factor also taking part, such as wind, ambient and soil temperature, humidity, and air density, for example, and above ground fuel sources, and especially peatland water table, which influence water content. And we assess pit biomass loss on fire. This figure here indicate that the increasing days of no rain subsequently increase the amount of fuel loss from pit burning. Before large canal development, fire even rarely occur in this site. The water table position close to the pit surface keep the pit soil surface moist and make it difficult to start fire. Fire even will start when there are available fuel sources like dry organic matter, oxygen, and also heat. Therefore, when our pit soil is moist, the both intentional and escape fire was not started, rarely started. So we together with community set up the hydrological water level in the canal in the area. This together with them, we built the simple dam, and also it successfully increased the water level in the canal, and also influenced the water table in the field. So before the large canal, with local reduced pit soil carbon dioxide emission and fire risk for this after this rewetting. Especially in second years of setup, the soil carbon dioxide emission significantly decreased. When we recall to a local wisdom that they create, like 30 to 40 centimeter depth in ditch, this result support them. We also conducted some experiment in community smallholder oil palm plantation. We also set up some simple dam like this, and then measure the environment, pit water table, pit characteristic, and also indeed soil carbon dioxide emission. And the result we see here that the action successfully, that we show the community that the action, simple action, successfully show the water level set up regular water table on their oil palm fields, and the water setup highly significantly decrease the CO2 emission from their land. Here. And this study found out that water table setup will not influence the peatlands production, and surprisingly, the 40 centimeter depth water table produce a higher yields of the oil palm peatlands. And also, also the bulk density, we measured that for the deeper water table, we're relatively higher in deep water table. So it showed the higher peat subsidence in the lower water table. So we also, together with community, at the same time, also train peatland community to process the brown water, peat water to be more clean and clear water, so in order to be used by for their daily needs. However, the effort needs some more work to make the water consumable. So we invite all parties to collaborate to help people here in processing the water. Also with JASTIP this year and for several years next in the future, we are starting our program to improve mangrove community in other site. To summarize this presentation, the use of traditional wisdom on peatland as hydrology regulation, a regulator of irrigation and land boundaries of, for generation to generation provides a lot of benefits to farmer. It is scientifically proven to provide better environment protection, such as lower emission, better fire prevention, and also fewer biomass losses. The management and conservation of peatland is a central issue today because considering that peatland is an alternative land as the last frontier to the problem lack of agricultural land in Indonesia. Non-forested peatland are potential to be utilized by farmers to cultivate crops and vegetable. However, the difficulties in managing peatland has to be taken care. Therefore, the local wisdom that greatly contributes to the sustainability of peatland should be continued practice by farmers. Community-based peatland include women also could be empowered to manage peatland in sustainable manner. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you for your kindly attention.
Thank you so much, Prof. Dwi, on your presentations on sustainable traditional knowledge on peatland hydrological management to reduce soil CO2 emissions. And now I would like to invite our second speaker for this part, Professor Dr. Christophera Haniwijaya, also from IPB University Indonesia. Professor Christophera Haniwijaya is the head of Food Chemistry Divisions at the Department of Food Science and Technology, FST IPB, Bogor Agricultural University Indonesia. She completed her PhD from Hokkaido University in Japan in 1990. Prof. Hani, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson, Mbak Fitri. Thank you for your kind introduction. I think it's still Ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning, selamat pagi, dear distinguished guests, speaker, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to God the Almighty for this blessing day. And first of all, I would like to extend my deep gratitude to Professor Fukuhara Sensei and team for giving me this very prestigious platform. And I'm new here. I do hope that I can share a little bit what I think with the audience from the perspective of my field of study. But first of all, let me share the screen first. Okay, hopefully it works.
Yes, it works, Prof. Maybe you can make it into slow side. Yes.
That's right. Okay, so yeah, today I will try to share my what I think of consideration about how the knowledge of nutrients and bioactivities compound can empowering the community wellness, especially in the peatland and also mangrove area. Maybe many of you have already known that the role of foods is now not only two, but three. So not only for the nutrient supply, or also for the palatability, for sensory satiety, but also for health maintenance, which is more and more popular nowadays. So why we should think about this one? Because comparing with my life before, the lifestyle of modern society has changed a lot, especially the abundance of availability of food. I think we take a lot of energy, and otherwise we don't use a lot energy from our body, since the ICT the technology give us better assistance, as already mentioned before by Dr. Luli. And the other things, we have a lot of problem also with the environmentals, especially the pollutants, and most of all, the very stressful jobs nowadays. So we're not only requiring something just nutritious and delicious like as before, but we require something different type of food which can support this kind of society. And yes, Japanese has pioneered with what we call it functional food since 1980. And I really thanks to that one, because I just the one who learned first about this one. So, but what is a functional food actually? That is a normal food like the one that we eat, but we have to consider not only for the basic nutritional impact, but also the beneficial effect of this food to our organisms. And what we got is how the active compounds will give improving general and physical condition, and also can decrease the risk of the evolution of disease. So we need the nutrients, the sensory, and also the active compounds. And we are lucky as a woman because based on my experience, and also from the publication that I read, I think until now, as in Asian culture, women are the one who taking care about the food intakes in the family, especially. I think this is a very strategic rules, and especially if we want to enhance the community health condition. With this kind of idea, and I just call back my memory about 20 years ago, because I was lucky because at the time, I got involved by chance to the big project by JSPS, collaboration of Hokkaido University, and then LIPI, I think, and then Palangkaraya University and IPB University in Peatland research, something like that. Yes, I said that I'm just working as what we call is management platform, but I think at the time, with the help of the local researchers like Ibu Yanetri, and also the encourage for my female researchers which involved with the peatland, I got also opportunity to do very simple experiments or maybe research, because I have a lot of attention to how a high diversity of vegetables in this area, and the local wisdom is very nice. So I have interest to how the Dayak people in Central Kalimantan traditionally consume the local vegetable, either they collect it from the wild or from the daily traditional cultivation. So just very simple, honestly said, it's very simple. I do it with one of my students. We try to find information about what is a traditional Dayak vegetables. We got about 19. Most of them are white plants, and sometimes it's also work as auxiliary. Not works, I mean, it is an auxiliary plant. And the most nice for me, because food eaters, I can enjoy a lot of food from the local. It's very nice. But more than that, I also learned about how the wisdom there has been used without what we call is a real scientific, but it's a really scientific. They use a lot of these vegetables to reduce the fatty pork or the fishy odor from fish. But if we see more deeper as a food scientist, I see there are a lot of good nutrition and also a lot of physiologically active compounds that will keep the safety when we eat pork, for example, for the cholesterol and so on. So further research in the laboratory, we found that mostly of these vegetables are normal one with a high of crude fiber and low fat, of course, but mostly they are very high in mineral and also protein. I just want to share a little bit with the one that I concern because I highlight this one, like sulur keladi. This one has a very good sources for iron. Many of the Indonesian people, especially female, has what we call is anemia because of the insufficiency uptake of iron. But this iron cannot be uptake in our body if there is no vitamin C. So that's why with this kind of composition, actually, this vegetable gave a lot of rules to what we call to maintain the healthiness, especially from the anemia for female, and also the folic acid of this sulur keladi, we call it like that, taro, I think, very high in folic acid. It's more than 20 times of spinach folic acid, and we know that I think Fitri knows very well that in Indonesia, among the low-income society, we have quite prevalence with inborn malformation because of the folic acid. So if we call and the flowers with good nutritional qualities, and also furthermore that like although we have also something that looks like not outstanding in nutrient quantities, but they have a beneficial activity. So that is good for knowing for rural and also traditional wisdom. So like for example, like tanjat, there is one of plant. I have very several bioactivities like segao. They also has been utilized as remedy for medicine, not only for food. And the other one, it's like also my concern because many of them is actually water clearing plant. Yeah, that is good for the environmental wisdom, something like that. But in the other hand, because they can take a lot of pollutants, so we have to also concern not only the benefit to get the minerals, but also how far it can be impact with that kind of pollutants as well. So we have to study further about that. And for example, it's not about pollutant also when the food or the in this case the vegetation growing up. So I think that is wonderful when the people in Palangkaraya eat a lot of fern. We call it kalakai, not in Bogor, because the fern in Palangkaraya have a very bitter, with the poor minerals, but rich in organic matters. So it's have a good amounts of irons and another kinds of mineral, comparing if it's cultivate in Bogor with the immature volcanic soil and red soil, something like that. So this is also something that maybe we call is local wisdom that we have to think about how to prepare a good information about the diet, what you call it, surface, or how to give the balance between how to use the good one for the food, something like that. I don't have enough time because time is limited, but if you want to see this one, it's very old one because it's already 20 years ago. So, but I think I will have a good chance after this. At least there is a publication here. And now the one that I also want to share with you is my concern about how our life difference. When I was young, I mean in my childhood, it's normal for us to live together in big family with a grandfather, grandmother, auntie, uncles, and cousins, and so on. And there is not many disturbance or not many, entertain from the ICT, because we just share together at the night. We come together hearing the story from the grandfather, grandmother, whatever it is, about the local wisdom, about the local information, and mostly of this information in verbally. But now the lifestyle is different, it changes. The young family after marriage, they just have life separately. So there is not good time for the young generation to have acquaintance with the elderly, and it's mean the verbal information will be disappear. So I think it's a need from now to collect all of this information and proof of the local knowledge scientifically. So it become in a documentary. So that is one thing that we have to do very soon before it's just diminish when we cannot get in touch with our grandmother, grandfather for the verbally. We cannot wake up them after they pass away, isn't it? And then another thing is about I saw in a field study, although sometimes it's not so like the other researchers done, but I see a lot of indigenous potential vegetative are still untouchable. And sometimes it's just the vanishing because no one uses it. So I think it's a pity that. And last but not least, I will try to also to think about. We cannot blame the ICT. There is a good chance and a good also opportunity to use this one. But sometimes if we don't use it, then they use us. So for example, now I feel so sad when I go to Palangkaraya or another locals. I find more easy to find the international food or the migration food comparing with the local. So how to compromise this one, that is something is our job. So because we know there are a lot of what I call is benefit if we know about the local wisdom and local sources to give us this one. So I have to conclude from the one that I talked before, but at least I know that the recent role of food intake is, especially as a functional food, will have a big impact to community wellness. And based on my study, yes, of course, it is in peatland, but I think also in mangrove, that we have a great potential to overcome the nutritional insufficiency, and also we can have the physiologically benefit, because the outstanding benefit from the functional ingredients, the bioactive compounds, and also if we know the wisely which one is good, then we can also support the sustainable environment development in mangrove and also peatland area, and the most important also to avoid the double trap, because we have what we call is a bleed with two edges. We have to know the potency, should be further investigation so we can properly use it, this potency not being misutilization, because if as you know, that mineral is sometimes also come with the heavy metal, so we will kill ourselves then. So that is the one. Now I'm lucky because I go with the JASTIP. This is the one that I think about how to do mapping and then do the SWOT analysis, further study. Especially, I really want to ask the informant of women researchers, because they know already how to do with the women, and then we can develop the women friendly practical guidance, and with the implementation in the sustainable bio village concept, we can see the wellness impacts very fast. The last one is how to use the ICT to save the valuable local ingredients and the local information. I do believe that since this is also one of a UNESCO project 90 with the Ministry of Women Environment. So usually at the time we have more than outstanding 100 researchers. I do believe also in Brunei, in Malaysia. So the woman power is there. But I still, let's say, we have to begin. If not, then nothing to do. So whatever it is, hand in hand with the female researchers, let's go to do something with our ability. With this one, I have to, yeah, it's already ring to close my presentation. But please let me say thank you to all of my male colleagues that encourage me due to this field of study. I really don't do it before because I do a lot in laboratory. So I know how difficult to come inside Peatland area, and also yeah, I have a wonderful time though, come to yeah, in Indonesian said, especially in Jawa, kejeblos ya. Okay, but that is good. So we can have this smile. Thank you for Hatano Sensei. I think it's already mentioned. He is the supervisor of Dr. Luli and the late Asidoko, my best friend. And with this, thank you for your attention. I do apologize for my Japanese, Japanese English. Time is
Thank
yours.
you so much, Professor Hani. Thank you so much for the inspiring presentations. I learned so many things from your presentations. And now I will invite the third speakers and also the last speaker for the second part, Dr. Yukako Monda from Kyoto University, Japan. Dr. Monda is a postdoctoral researcher at Kyoto University, major in forest ecology. She is interested in element cycling in tropical forests, especially the survival strategies of oligotropic trees, mainly Shorea albida. She is also studying sagu palm plantations in Riau Province, Indonesia. Dr. Monda will present her lecture on potentials of sagu palm for plantations on rewetted drainage impacted peatland. Dr. Monda, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fitire-san and organizers. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for me as presenter. Thank you. これか。Can you see this slide?
Yes, Dr. Monda.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Today, I would like to talk about culture using sago palm. As you know, drainage based on land use of peatland causes many problems, and this problem can be solved by raising the water level. For land use, zoning based on scientific research and social consensus is very important. For example, when degradation level is minor, so forest rehabilitation will be best way because peat swamp have many endemic species, and when degradation level is major, so permaculture will be better way. Permaculture is a sustainable production of biomass on wet peatland. This is re-wetted condition is also okay. This includes the revival of traditional land use through modified land use schemes. One of the candidate plants is sago palm. Sago palm is one of the oldest cultivated crops in Southeast Asia. It can grow in submerged conditions. Starch is accumulated in peats, and its starch is processed for food. Sago palm originates in Papua, Irian Jaya, and Papua New Guinea. It disturbed widely to Southeast Asia artificially. In those areas, sago palm is cultivated by smallholders in semi-traditional cultivation. This is the life cycle of sago palm. First, as an initial preparation, slashing of small trees is carried out to make planting rows. After field preparation, root suckers are transplanted. Then, slashing is carried out every 2 years for the next 6 years. Fertilization is unnecessary, and no sucker control. The owners decide harvest timing by flower bud formation and frond length changing. Therefore, little or no maintenance is carried out after transplanting. In Riau province, Indonesia, commercial sago palm cultivation is thriving. The village of Tebing Tinggi Island, semi-traditional smallholders sago cultivation is flourishing. So we focused on sago cultivation on Tebing Tinggi Island. In 1980s, sago cultivation was started and became major agricultural product in this island. A small canal was built in 2005 and a large one is in 2009. The combination of these two canals facilitated the drainage of the peat swamp. Due to this drainage, productivity of sago had declined. Drainage continued and massive fire broke out in 2014. After massive fire, canal blocking was conducted by villagers with government support. The water level is kept high now, and currently there are no serious peat fire. So there is question here. Did sago palm productivity recover after rewetted? We set up 20 plots along the small canal. The right side is upstream and the left side is downstream. The peat depth is thicker on the upstream side in research area. Water salinity and pH did not affect the growth of sago to any significant degree. The plantations are owned by at least 9 smallholders. Each owner has plantation area of 15 to 30 hectares. To clarify the number of harvested sago and forest structure, sago census was done. Sago was divided into 2 stages, trunk phase and large rosette phase based on size. For sago in trunk phase, trunk height and DBH were measured. DBH means diameter at breast height. Sago in large rosette phase were counted. This field survey was conducted in 2016 and this census was conducted in 2017 and 2020. Sago census data did not provide actual harvest of sago size, so we accompanied the harvesting activity and measured the size of the 4 harvested sago. To compare with current yields, we used data from Jones research. The annual yield and trunk height data of this paper were obtained in 1999. This is before drainage. This is relationship between estimated maximum trunk height and environmental condition. X-axis is the distance from the most downstream plot. Y-axis is trunk height of sago palm. The black circle are the maximum trunk height as the average of the 3 highest individuals in the plot during the research period. This figure showed that the thicker the peat thickness, the smaller the maximum size. The white circle is the size of the actually harvested sago. The actual harvested size averaged 10.2 meters, and estimated height by regression of Hmax and distance was 10.1 meters. According to villagers, the current harvest trunk height is generally 7 to 10 meters, up to 12 meters, and 5 to 6 meters at the most upstream side. Therefore, the maximum size obtained here can be said to be almost the same as the harvest size. Now, let's compare the harvest size before and after drainage. The black one is the current size, that is the maximum size after rewetted, and The right side is the harvest size before drainage. According to villagers, the trunk height was reduced by about 20% due to the drainage. The current size is a bit smaller, but there is no significant differences, indicating that the harvest size is recovering. Next, we will compare the sago yield. The average annual yield has recovered to the same level as before the drainage. Therefore, it can be said the number of harvests is recovering. And there was great variability here in yield, both before drainage and after the re-wetted. Why? So the reason is the sago stand structure. The size distribution of sago was different for each plot. As a result of cluster analysis based on the trunk height distribution, sago forests were divided into 3 types. For this graph, class 1, 2, 3 means that the size of sago is small, middle, and large, respectively. And type 1 was grouped with many large sago, and type 2 was a group with many medium-sized sago, and type 3 was a group with low trunk density. Although not shown in this figure, this group, type 3, has many rosettes. So is the type 1 good and type 3 bad? This figure shows the size distribution color-coded by state. This white means sago that lived in 2017 but were harvested by 2020. For type 1 and type 2, many sago were harvested by 2020. As a result, type 1 and type 2 has the same size distribution as type 3. Type 2, many middle-sized sago in 2017. It had large sago in 2016. For size distribution like 2020, we can expect lower yield for the next few years based on type 3, result of type 3. Differences in size distribution mean differences timing of harvest cycles, and this is causing fluctuations in annual yields. This is a map of the research site. The color differences means difference in the size distribution group. A yellow square means same owner's plantations. The owner owns sago forest with different size distributions. Sago forest with different harvesting cycles are formed in a mosaic pattern. This means that harvesting can always be carried out on some sago forests. From the above result, we will answer this question. Sago palm productivity recovers? Yes. Harvest size and number of harvested palms has recovered the same level as before drainage. On the other hand, yield varies from year to year. This is characteristic of smallholders plantation, and this allows for continuous sago harvesting. But this is a short-term research to assess forest dynamics of sago palm. Long-term survey and plots that cover varied of forest structure are important. And when you hear that the annual harvest is 26 trunks, you may want to increase it, and you may want to reduce the annual variation in yield. To increase sago palm yields and reduce variability, proper management has been proposed, such as sucker control and fertilization. On the other hand, there is an opinion that management to achieve high yields every year is difficult. For sustainability, such as economically and technologically, is important for smallholders. So choice of feasible management is important. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Monda, for your explanations and presentations on sago palm. And now we will continue with the panel discussions. And for this panel discussions, I would like to invite again our 5 speakers to be present and turn on the camera. The first one is Professor Insinyur Dr. Adwati Sali, and then Dr. Lailan Syaufina, and then Professor Dr. Dwi Astiani, Professor Dr. Hanis Wijaya, and the last one is Dr. Wida Susanti Haji Suhaili. And during this panel discussions, I will ask the panel's questions that we have been prepared previously. And also, we will also ask you some questions that have been asked by participants through the Q&A box. I see some questions already answered by the speakers, Dr. Ruli, and also Ms. Deborah also replied to the questions, the open questions in the Q&A box. And now, first of all, I want to go to Professor Dwi Astiani to ask her on the first questions. From the gender perspective, we are talking about the peatland and the mangrove, and what is the in your opinion, what is the adequate balance between conservations and development? Maybe you can give us some kind of overview on this matter.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Fitri, for the question. I think conservation and development can go hand by hand, go hand in hand. Then the keyword and also is a sustainable use of resources. You can utilize the sources, the natural resources, but you still have to do it in conservation manner. And the balance between conservation and development can be seen from livelihood, increasing livelihood, improvement, and forest or land conservation stay and is still keep not distracting the peatland or the mangrove. The conservation movement largely aims to protect nature for the well-being of people. So it has to be balanced, ensuring that the user of natural resources, whether it's man or woman or a baby boy or girls, have the right to opportunity and ability to participate in the decision-making and activities. Mm-hmm. In place where women still less in participation, increasing women's participation in decision-making will ensure greater success and sustainability on peatland, while because they have their own role in that area, while properly safeguarding natural resources and enhancing the shared benefit of their careful use with others. I think that's all my
so
answer.
both side can go together,
yes,
hand in hand.
Yes,
exactly. And for the second questions, I will go to Professor Adwati, because I want to know, because you have like the LoRaWAN set in the peatland in Sarawak. According to your study, can you recommend any possible actions for local, national, or regional scales for better sustainable peatland management, can LoRaWAN be implied or be replicate in other region as well?
Yeah, thank you, Fitri. So the IoT system that we deployed, the suggestion is to use LoRaWAN, but there are also other candidates for wireless access technology like NB-IoT and ZigBee. But because LoRaWAN is using free frequency, so it is cost effective. So it can be implemented in any peatland forest in the region because we observe similar characteristics, and it can also be scaled up and replicated. But when you mention about the local regional integration, I see that the challenge is like in the data governance. Which peatland data does one country wants to share with others, and which data that can be used for potential prediction for all countries to share, for example. So I see that this will be another challenge that probably the policymakers or at the government level can come into place and then play a role for better sustainable peatland management. Thank you, Fitri.
So the challenge is how we like work together, share our data together, and sharing is
some
the
of the
key now.
data. Some countries may want to have it just inside the country, like sensitive data, but some of the data that we can share with others, especially the generic ones.
But now I see like the forest fire data, we can have it like in the regional, right? So we can have, for example, like in ASEAN, we will, if there is like a special occurrence happens in Indonesia and Malaysia, maybe we already have the regional map for that, right? Like the observations.
Yeah, the granularity of the data as well as the level of access. Like for example, for public, maybe we can just see the map. But for the researchers or for the admin level that you want to have real-time data that you can extract and then do analytics and do prediction and etc. So this is the level of data governance that we need to determine or discuss.
Okay, so open science and open data, open access is also the key of this. Thanks. Yes. Okay, I will go to Professor Hani. I really learned so much from your presentations, especially from the local indigenous knowledge, because in UNESCO we also it is our mandate as well to empower these links and in related to science. And you know, you in your presentations you say that women have the local knowledge, have the wisdom, local wisdom, and we know that usually women, because they active roles in household, they are cooking, they keep the house, they are collecting foods, they know the local wisdom, they heard the story from their parents, from their family. They inherited this kind of things, and they know better. Sometimes they know better, right? So in your, what you can say to this, how we empower these women to have better or and then sustainable peatland management, and not only the peatland management, maybe in other areas as well. How do we empower these women?
Okay, thank you, Fitri, but I prefer to call Mbak Fitri because you look so young and very pretty. So, because in our age, book is means something like. Okay, interesting question, yeah, because I'm not a social science, but I do believe that there are a lot of what we call is invisible knowledge that maybe is not supported with the scientific approaches. But if we become more in scientifically sound, then we can learn a lot from the local people and I mean the practitioners is mostly is women there, and they always have been seen by half sebelah mata, I call it. As inferior because it's daily activities and food is just, yes, you can enjoy that one without thinking a lot, and it looks like more normal, something very simple as far as they can eat is okay. And maybe not many of us also give appreciation for the one who prepared the food. Sometimes now I in a very deep sorry, because I know my grandmother is the whole day in the kitchens to prepare everything, and that's why now I become now. But maybe nowadays my grandchildren doesn't have that kind of opportunity. There's so many fast food and so on, and yeah, it's not bad, but I'm a little worried about it because there is nothing to do with the very simple food. As I mentioned now, we do understand that food is not just a food that make us feel full. No, of course, there is a kind of information that a hungry man is an angry man, but a sick man is a very expensive. That is more what I care. When we have assurance now, we can feel that one very much. So we have to make a kind of a wellness society, and in this case, with empowering the women, especially local women, with more scientific supported information. So they can wisely also improve their knowledge, not that only that one, and the other things to preserve the information in a written document is very important, because as I see now the young generation doesn't have our luxuries. They just learn everything from internet, of course.
Yeah.
The internet never learn or teach about the local wisdoms and local potencies and something like that.
So maybe our challenge is to like make this kind of informations widely known, like sharing more informations of local indigenous knowledge, so our younger generations cannot miss this kind of informations, right?
Yes, this is a kind of heritage that we have to preserve before it's just diminishing.
Yeah.
There know nothing with in written, or it just go verbally, something like that. To preserve this one is not only for our region but for the world. This is world heritage. To have kind of exciting like that, and yes, hopefully that the young generation like you will be next.
Yeah, I mean. Okay, I have one questions that I think I need to ask to all of you, because all of you are the like the current women in science, women researchers in these sectors in Peatland sectors, because I personally have this kind of experience where the field work, like previously mentioned by Dr. Luli, are commonly seen as masculine domain. So the participations and also the acceptance of women is usually very there is a limitations to that, right? So I think everyone's facing this kind of fact. How do you think this is justified, or how can we fight this perceptions? Maybe I open this question to any of you. Maybe if you want to ask, if you want to answer, just like I want to answer. Okay.
Can I answer your question?
Sure.
Yes, thank you very much. It's very interesting opinion, but based on my experience, as I'm a forester, so I don't see any limitation for us as women to work in the field. Even our colleagues, our male colleagues, always support us. So we work together hand in hand. We respect each other. I think Prof. Hani and Prof. Dwi Astiani know very well. I think in Indonesia we have no limitation for this. We work together and support each other and respect each other. So everyone has their own capacity. So we help each other. So I don't find any limitation for women working in the field.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Rida.
I would also agree to Dr. Lailan's statement, because even in our context, when I firstly embarked, because I've worked with several stakeholders, and those stakeholders are actually starting off with men. But then once they know that the women are actually interested, they actually bring us on board, and they are the ones who actually bring us to the site. You know, they really, whenever I have a new students, I said, can I go? Come along, Dr. Come. So they're really interested to bring these new young bloods to, you know, for them to create awareness. At the same time, it's a means for them. So they're encouraging more students to actually be involved. So no matter boys or girls. But so you know, there's no limitation. As I agree to what Dr. Lailan is stating as well. Yeah.
Dr. Professor Dwi, maybe you may add some things.
Yeah, I think a woman should be supported both by surrounding community as well as because there's no limitation. So frankly, I really love to work as a scientist in the field of tropical peatland. And all the challenge supposed to encourage me to learn and do more as a female tropical peatland scientist. The implication that being a woman in doing things in tropical peatland provide me more advantage in doing more in my field. Women should be supported equally similar to men in doing their career in tropical peatland. I'm very fortunate have family, friends, and colleagues who were very supportive of my scientific choice in this field. Also, I think I have a responsibility to address stereotypes to not only ensure gender equality, but also to enhance the woman involvement and career in peatland. Women should be a role model or other and provide high quality of the challenging works in peatland, have just to be confident in their abilities. To get more support well, we have to choose our partner well and find a lot of good support in our network. I think that's my addition.
Prof. Adwati, maybe you want to add something as well?
Yeah, I agree with all the other panelists. Probably 10 years ago, I couldn't differentiate between peatland and mangrove even because my background is in mobile and satellite communications in engineering area. But now when I got involved, I see that all the, especially the men,
Adwati, we have like internet connections from your side. We cannot hear you clearly. Yeah. Okay, maybe we can go. We can hear more from Prof. Adwati soon. But to continue with these questions, I want to hear from each of you your personal experience, how to balance between your like personal life and also your professional life, how to thrive in STEM and ICT in research, despite of existing challenge that we know women like face so many boundaries, so many challenges. Can you like give us like short and your own experience on this?
I think we have to be smart as a woman, because we have to have a different path in our daily lives as a mom, as a worker, as a wife, and as a maybe a teacher and others. So that's the matter how we involve ourselves and what is the know the situation. So we realize that when we have to be a mom, we can be a mom, and when we to be a scientist, we can be a scientist. So just put your own head in different ways. Thank you.
Prof. Hani? Oh yeah, Dr. Vida.
I think Prof. Hani first, yeah.
No.
Okay.
Just go on. Yeah.
Thank you. So in the context of us in Brunei, we can actually just see a handful of researchers, you know, and our work will not really advertise or create awareness. But ever since I embarked with peatland, especially because peatland is something of interest of everyone, you know. So and then peatland for me is basically something that is also closely related because I'm an asthma. I have an asthma. So when it hit Brunei in 1994, so that was the first transboundary race issue. So Brunei was totally closed. just like COVID, no one can go out. The sky was totally, cloudy, etc.
Yes.
So that was the first thing. And then when I come back with the knowledge that I have, the adoption of technology, then I started embarking on it, slowly. So from 2016 up to now, the project is still alive. So I think the interest from within, the intrinsic value of the project itself, it evolves as it goes, and then the stakeholders keep on adding on to it, and the collaborators that I have. So I'm very fortunate to be involved in NEPC, to be exposed to Malaysia's work, to be involved in the expansion work in Indonesia. Wow, it's impressive, So there's a lot of room for us women researchers to actually bring ourselves in front, to show that we actually can do the same thing as what the men are doing, because the opportunity is actually there. It's just that we just need to grab it and be able to divide our time accordingly. In my case, and unfortunately during this COVID time, it's difficult for me to split my head because I'm constantly at the house. So my kids are next to me. So it's very difficult for me to divide that. That's the only challenge that I'm facing now, that I need to ensure. I don't know how you guys are doing it, but I'm still struggling. But I hope I can do it at one point where I can divide my time. This is my work at school. This is my work at home. It's quite difficult. I don't know how you guys face it. But
sometimes we work like 24/7, right?
It was this okay, I can, if it's schoolwork. If it's at home, my home, my husband, But now it's So I hope I can hear something from you guys as well on that context. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Don't mix up.
Exactly.
Maybe we need to hear from the more senior.
Yes.
Senior researcher here, Prof. Hani. Maybe. Oh yeah, we have Prof. Adwaite back. Maybe Prof. Hani, you can answer first.
Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. I feel very happy because I really become senior now. No, actually, yes, maybe I will be the elder, and maybe I cannot deny there was a time that was very difficult for us as women to go together with men, especially in my age at the time, and. Like or not, as a woman, we have more burden and more challenges to become scientists and educators, because yeah, for me, I have 3 children, and it's really hard to, it's easier for me to manage the work than my children, because I'm so worried when everybody just said, how you can say they are educators if you cannot educate your children first. So, and it's very difficult to do that one in balance, because yeah, sometimes they are I know they are not mine, but just a kind of, we call it in Indonesian is titipan, yeah. So we just want, we cannot push them. We cannot use the rule or something in class, in university. There's a lot of rules. Make me easier to educate the students. So I think that is a part of what I feel as a woman. So more burden, but thanks God. That is why maybe we are so happy every time every man said that we are the first a human being has been created by God. So I always say, thanks, you are the second one, it's been better person. So we have more patience, we have more passionate, we have more endurance, we have so everything, then we can conquer all of the challenge. And I know very well know this because we don't have office hour. So it's become work from home. There's no home hours, isn't it? So yeah, it's my suggestion. Sometimes it's really hard, of course, but if we can show the family what we do and what is in our head, and we talk a lot with them, that is the way I got what I said, supported from my family, and with the successful with some family, there are a lot of support from the community that women can do as a double agents or triple agents, whatever it is, without forgetting our position. No, I'm very released because 2 of my children has already married. I have a what I call is yeah, a new toys, my grandchild and my youngest one now in Cambridge with PhD. So yeah, we can do it, don't worry. Yes, of course, it's not easy, but with once again, hand in hand with male, don't make them as enemies.
Yes.
Of course, sometimes they are still our friends, then we can go with the more achievement. So good luck, young children.
Well, yeah, Dr. Lailan, maybe you can share your personal experience on this.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Fitri. I think as a woman, we are lucky to be created as a woman because we are multitasking. We used to do cooking while we are washing clothes or while we are cleaning the house. So we used to be multitasking. Therefore, I think I agree with all the panelists, and we need to be smart, as Professor Dwi Astiani mentioned, that we need to be smart to manage our time, and the most important things is to support our family, of course, to care of our family. Then our family will support us. The key success of the woman, I think, the family behind us. So we thankful to our family who support us, and of course to our colleagues in the office, and also to our colleagues in the fields when we do the field works, which always support us as a researcher, as a scientist, and also to our students, of course. Our students are always inspired us to be motivated, and they always support us, and they know what how the difficulties and hard work need to be done for their lecturers. So thanks to everyone who support the woman in Peatland and Mangrove and the environment as the general. Thank you, Mbak Fitri.
Thank you, Dr. Lailan and Prof. Adwati. I was asking to the panelists their own experience, their personal experience, how to thrive in STEM and research, despite of all the challenge and boundaries. Maybe as a closing, you can say your personal experience as well.
Okay, thank you, Fitri. Especially during lockdown, I must say that it is a very challenging time for everyone, especially women. But it's true. I agree with, I think, Dr. Luli's presentation just now. She said, and she wrote that get sick whenever you could. Seek help. Yeah, seek help whenever you could. So seek help, seek support. It doesn't make you any less of a woman, for example, if you just order out using Grab or Foodpanda or anything. Just as long as you can get everyone in the house happy, and if the mother is happy, the whole family is happy. And I totally agree with all the panelists, especially just now Dr. Lailan was highlighting, we should support each other. Female will understand another female better, and what more, a female researcher will understand another female researcher better. So we should bring up the best out of each other and help and support whenever we could, so that more females can come into place, more females can be recognized in STEM areas. That's all, Fitri.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the very interesting discussions. I learned so much from you, and it has really encouraged me to pursue higher. Thank you so much. And with this, we conclude our panel discussions. And before we close the sessions or the webinar, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Eiji Nawata, Director of Kyoto University ASEAN Center, Japan and Thailand, to give the closing remarks and also officially close the webinar today.
Okay, thank you very much. As just introduced, I am Eiji Nawata, a Director of Kyoto University ASEAN Center. Before I got position, I had been working in Graduate School of Agriculture. My major is tropical agriculture. Although peatland agriculture is out of my major concern, but I do have the concern to these problems for a long time. So today I learned a lot concerning the tropical peatland and its utilization. Actually, agricultural utilization of tropical peatland is very difficult and challenging, mainly due to the unstable soil conditions. From the talk of Dr. Luri and other speakers, I recognize the importance of field work in this field. Yes, field work is very important. And at the same time, I also recognize the importance and effectiveness of IT and IoT technologies. So probably effective combination of fieldworks and IT and IoT technology may produce the very outstanding outcomes, I believe. And other keywords from the symposium is the local wisdom and traditional knowledge, which I think Dr. Hani emphasized. Yeah, I think the various field works or intensive field works let us know the importance of this kind of traditional knowledge and utilization, and we should give them the proper evaluation. And we have many points to learn from the local wisdom and traditional knowledge. And, you know, when I was in the graduate school of agriculture, Kyoto University, I had been working, I served as vice dean or dean for many years. And when I was vice dean, one of my responsibility is gender equality. And today I was very happy and pleased to know there are lots of powerful and active female researchers working in this field. And I was very impressed and very pleased too. But anyway, today's symposium is very productive, and I'm confident that near future, although the problem is very serious and difficult, we can seek for a way to how should I say, harmonize with the difficult environment caused by the tropical peatland. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Eiji Nawata. And now with this, I would like to thank you, all the participants and also all the speakers for your active participations. And I hope we will see you again in another future event. And Fukuhara-san, there is anything we want to tell to the participants? We want to inform them? If no, maybe with this, I would say goodbye to you. I hope we will see you again in next event, another event. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.